I didn't see Bonnie either. Yeah, she must be the left.
I have no idea. Sure. Pick a laptop from me.
Yeah.
What's the password to get into the system? I mean, well, the password to get into the computer, not.
Elect 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they're the same time. Because Esmeralda said. These are just used for voting.
Or just used for voting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
That's because. Oh, that's.
Actually, that was good for me. Good job today. Good job today.
The voting.
This is the one y'all provided.
Just the password for the.
Elect 1, 2, 3. Elect 1, 2, 3 with a capital E.
There.
I think I touched something. 866, I know that. That one? Oh, no, that's election. Capital E. The user one? Yes.
Elect 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
So where are we going for that? Just like, go with the
First, yeah.
EV.
Laura said she can hear, but no. I don't know. She said.
I'll maximize it. We're on the left side.
Good evening, everyone. I think we're still working on some people getting logged in, but I think for the most part, we're pretty much there. Thanks for joining us for this. I don't even know how many meetings we've had now. Number 8 of the Vote Center Advisory Committee. Appreciate you guys all being here. I apologize. We had hoped to be wrapped up last Thursday night, but the weather didn't cooperate, and we had to. I wouldn't say we canceled the meeting, but we took no official actions, and we just kind of reviewed during that meeting, and forcing us to
Oh, my name.
have to have a meeting tonight, and it's really, really critical that we try to wrap up our activities tonight. So we're going to try to move as quickly as possible and kind of push along as fast as possible. And then with the idea that if we have a recommendation tonight, that I'm going to be meeting with commissioners, court members over the next week, briefing them one by one on our plan. And then with the idea that commissioners will act to accept or modify your plan on March 21st. Okay, so having said that, any questions? Okay, so we'll get right into it. So up on the screen, you'll see that I've got a map that we talked about a couple of times now. This is a plotting of all of the address points in Dallas County. Anywhere there's a person registered at a particular address, that's a point. And so that map, while interesting, is not super helpful for our purposes of looking for holes in our current plan. And so we've taken this map and made it in a heat layer. And so I'm going to turn off those points. And what you see there is the dark spots. The dark areas are where there's a lot of points of registered voters, and the light spots where there's less registered voters, address points. Now, someone had made a comment that this doesn't necessarily capture voter registration as accurately as they would like to see, in that it's just a single point. So a single point where someone's registered, there could be one person registered there, there could be 5, there could be 10, there could be a whole apartment complex. And so, and that we may not be looking at certain areas as accurately as possible. We were aware of that, but when we were publishing this map, we didn't have time to do density, where there's voter registration, where you take into account certain high density locations. But since then, we have had time to do that. And so we've added another layer here. If you look at the map, you'll watch how it changes. This is a density map that shows. And so you see, of course, the concentration of voters in the downtown area and the uptown area, frankly, is where you really see a high density. There's a couple of, I'll just kind of toggle between these two. You'll see there's another area right here, right next to University Park, where it really fills in a lot. Must be some high rises there, a couple dense spots here, and then up north. Doesn't change the map too much, but it gives us another view to reference. So I think, though, we will operate off of this map, because this is the one we've been operating on. We'll have that other one as a reference to take a look at. We know that looking at the county as a whole, can be a little overwhelming. So what we've done is we've kind of overlaid a grid, and these are meaningless grids other than where there's natural breaks. So we've got these 9 different sections in the county. They're not tied to any political jurisdiction or anything else. That we will be looking at a section at a time to look for, what we're looking for is holes in our coverage. And when I say that, I'm going to now turn on, well, as a reference, I'm going to turn on red dots. These are locations that we previously rejected because they were probably near another location. And so these are the ones that you voted on to reject. And then there's also these pink ones that are unavailable, that are to us. So I'm going to go ahead and turn those off right now, but they're there as a reference. And then I'm going to turn on the green ones. These are the ones that you have accepted. We've voted on the ones that we've accepted. Now our goal tonight is to take a look at one section at a time. So I'm going to just zoom into this section 4 right here, use as an example, and to look for holes to say, even though we've looked at the top 300 locations, but there's still a couple hundred other locations that we have not looked at because they were low turnout. And where do we not have good coverage? And I'm just looking at this map. I'm saying, down here, looks like there's a big hole. There's no locations here. And up here, it looks like there's a little hole. And so what we did, our team did then, to help you along, is they went and looked at our previously used locations and found what they considered to be the best hole fillers. And so those are what are called the DCED recommended locations. So if I turn these on, you'll see those green little plotter points pop up. And so they said, oh, we recommend adding 2 locations down here. We recommend adding 1 here, et cetera, where they saw as the holes. And so what we want to do is to review your accepted locations and to review our recommended and to see if we're properly filling those holes. Okay? And so, questions?
Is it appropriate to revisit some of the sites that might have been yellow at this point as well?
Yeah, that's a great question, because when we sent a communication to you guys this weekend, we had several of those locations that either ones that we hadn't acted on, we kind of paused, or there were some locations that said, hey, we're temporarily going to say yes, tentatively going to say yes, and we're going to revisit them after we do a survey. And some of them we may just revisit because of changing circumstances. And we will do that section by, when we're going in there section by section. So we'll open up section 1. Melissa will say, hey, here's a circumstance we want to bring your attention to, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? So I'm going to start with section 1. I'm going to move up here. And so what you see there is the locations that you accepted, and then what our team filled in as a whole. Now, I think that there's been some more things to discuss since our team filled this, since we published this map for you guys. Because if you kind of look, there's still pretty good sized hole down here. So I think Melissa's got some information she wants to share with us.
I actually don't have anything for section 1.
Well,
Sorry.
yes, there was, because there's a good point of
Okay.
these potential ones down here. And the question was for Kyle, why, I'm looking at what I consider a hole. And I see 2 locations that I don't think they've been used before. So like this location was not used in 21 or 22. And this location was not used in 21 or 22, but we have them as, they're on our list. So St. Andrew Kim Catholic Church and La Lita Elementary School. So is there anything you can tell us about that, Kyle, or anybody from our team?
Are we talking about in Valley Ranch, Irving? Yeah, Irving. Irving, because what my pinpoint indicates is Freeman Elementary.
What I'm looking at right now is in the lower right-hand quadrant.
Yeah.
Oh, the yellow dots.
Yes,
Okay.
Elementary.
I thought the recommended were the green with the white.
they are, but I'm questioning my team why there wasn't another recommendation.
Gotcha.
As I'm seeing this, if I turn off these yellows, these potentials, I see kind of a big hole down there.
Gotcha.
So if I'm picking up the right vote centers, it's because voting sites have been reaching out to them since late last week, and we have not gotten in contact with them to say, would y'all actually be willing to be a vote center? But we've identified them as public buildings.
Yeah, we were trying to get in touch with Lisa.
So this has been a hole. We've never used those locations before. It's been a hole forever. I'm going to guess it's a growing area. And so it's a hole we'd like to plug, whether it's for this election or certainly for a presidential. And so having said that, now that we know a little bit more about what's going on with those, we don't have a good solution for it at this point. My question is, what would you like to do with section 1? We did add one addition at this location.
Well, out of those two locations, one is a church that was recommended to us by the Korean American Special Network. We have not been able to survey that location. We just had this recommendation a few days ago. So without a survey, we couldn't recommend fully at this point, but we could decide on pending a survey, one of those two locations being opted as well.
I'm going to question you on that. We're trying to have some certainty for tonight. So
Yeah.
having potential locations is really not too helpful to us.
What is the distances that we're talking about from those particular, I guess, the southeast corner to, I guess, the new proposed voting looks like that'll be the closest.
Like that.
Put the measuring tool on there.
Oh.
Kevin?
Yeah.
You want measuring tools?
We haven't contacted Levita Elementary.
We've left them a couple of messages.
They haven't
They haven't gotten back. I will note that we don't have any, there were no rejected or unavailable locations in that area. We haven't really had a location in that area. If you turn on the rejected and the unavailable layers, you'll see nothing has ever existed over there.
said no, they haven't said.
Yeah, we looked on Google Maps, we identified that there was a school there and we said, that looks good. We tried contacting the school
And
and
that school works out, surveys well, I think we ought to go with that because that's a public building. And a lot of times there's problems with churches and extra expenses and stuff.
Is it part of Irving ISD? We have representatives here.
I don't know, do we have school?
it is part of Carrollton Farmer Branch.
And they have a representative as well. Their representative was here last week. I'm gonna see there.
Do we have someone from, what was the ISD?
Carrollton Farmers Branch.
Carrollton Farmers Branch. Can you speak to those two locations?
And so just a response to the mileage, from the. it is 1.57 miles between, the Freeman Elementary School and the Yellow Valley.
Was St. Kim a recommendation from the Vietnamese community?
From the Korean Professional Network.
Okay, thank you.
That's Capel. That's Capel Independent School District, guys.
Local leaders, Farmers Branch.
Carrollton Farmers Branch.
Someone said that there was, did someone say that there's an elementary school in Capel, I think?
La Bolita Elementary is a school in Irving, the city of Irving, but it is a Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD school. A little confusing.
In year?
Yes.
So I think one of the things I have to point out too is this probably is a growing area. We haven't had a location in before in previous elections. So maybe something we put on our radar as we plan for November election. The question is, do we need an immediate decision today or something for the May election, right? Any questions?
I'd like to hear from someone from the Carrollton Farmers Branch School District about that area. You know, has there been a lot of people that have lived in that area recently? Is that why it's more concentrated?
Is anyone online from the Carrollton Farmer Branch School District? I'm not sure I heard anyone.
We are seeking responses from probable facilities, and the facilities are have representation on the committee. You do not contact the committee person first.
We have no, the person that we contract with is going to be, we have specific contracts for our facility contracts. Sometimes it's at ISD level. It's spread out throughout the organization on certain people.
Right, because typically the persons that are involved with this committee are typically those persons that have that good touch
The
on
relationship.
the relationship, and they may not be the final signature on the contract, but they can tell you exactly how many parking spaces are there. I mean, the people on this committee know the facilities. And so I would think that would probably be a little bit more efficient in gaining feedback if we reach out to our partners here that are already working with us.
That's a fair point. I will say, I'm not sure if it's not the same person. So
And 9 times out of 10 it is.
I would say I can't answer that.
The cities and the school districts that I know, these are the people in the room.
exactly.
And so by going through administration, central office, and going through the municipal government, that may be some lag time that's not
Well, it
necessary.
may be the same person who we're talking to is going to say, so I'm not
Right.
sure, yeah. But I don't give them on the call either to answer that question, so I don't have an answer.
I want to make sure that I'm understanding. If you need a mic so I can hear this. I want to make sure I'm understanding what we're discussing. So we're only talking about this one school, or are you talking about all of the yellow in one? I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand what.
We're talking about area number 1,
Right.
and we're talking about the greens that you've already acted upon. And we're talking about that new point that we've dropped in there.
That one section that has, that one section in the bottom right-hand corner that looks like, clearly there are no greens. That's what, is that what we're looking at? No.
I'm going to share my screen so I can control this.
Okay. And so my question then to Melissa is,
Okay, so what we're talking about is, at this point in time, what we're recommending is this one location here, which, let's see if I'm on my screen.
Freeman Elementary School.
Freeman Elementary School. And so we would, for this area, it would be your recommendations plus our recommendation. You're accepted plus our recommendation. We would be, at this point in time, we would be without, just like we were in 2021 and 2019 and 2018, we would be without a location in this far right-hand corner. in other words, we haven't, this has always been a hole, it would continue to be a hole. I think what we're trying to do is to fill it. And so remember, what we're working towards is with the small model, small turnout model, high turnout model, that our work is not done. What we want to do is to continue to work to fill holes, make us more bulletproof for a large turnout election. And the question back here.
Michael,
This is Amy Niemer, City of Richardson. I move that we accept Dallas County's recommendation for May and work on filling that hole for November and move on to the next area.
Second.
So it's been motioned and seconded to accept the recommendation of Dallas County and to try to fill that hole as we work towards our large turnout model. Now, open for discussion.
Well, my question for you was, is there a recommendation from Dallas County to keep it the way it is here? Would that be the recommendation?
That is our recommendation. And we tried to fill the hole, we just didn't get there.
Okay, then I'll offer a second to that motion for now.
So more discussion.
Freeman Elementary School is already a vote center. 2603.
Right, but it wasn't discussed, so it hasn't been accepted by VCAC for this go around. Because it was number 366 on our list, so we only talked through, I think, the first 300. So anything beyond the first 300 is what we're talking about.
Okay. So you're recommending to add that location, is that correct?
Right, to what we approved in the first 300 we reviewed, and now we're adding this in addition to that, beyond that.
So I'm sorry, so the motion on the table is to add that as a vote center for May? Is that correct?
Freeman Elementary School, yes.
Correct.
Oh, okay,
In addition to the ones you guys previously approved, which are the dark green.
okay.
And the further part of the motion, just to be clear, is to try to work to get one of those two yellow dots or some other location down in that right hand bottom quadrant.
Okay, to keep contacting them like you have been. Okay, thank you.
For the people online, can you clarify the motion?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. The motion was to accept the county's recommendation of adding Freeman Elementary School to your previous list of accepted locations, and to have the VCAC continue to, and the elections department to continue to look for more locations in that right-hand quadrant as we prepare the large model, large turnout model. Any further discussion? Okay, having said that, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Cool. So we will move to section 2.
I thought we had some other yellows up in the other part of one that's kind of vacant. Was there not some other yellow possibilities in that? It is another level. Large hole. There you go. That's the one. We're going to discuss that after the May election. Is that right? Future VSAC thing.
That's the intent, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to give you some sense of where we're at. So we started with 469 locations previously. If I back out and I look at your recommendations for your green acceptance plus the recommendations that we've added, we're at around 360, just to give you some sense. So moving to section 2. It's a rather large section. So I'll turn off our recommended. So if you look here, there's certain areas that we identified as holes, like under this, the word Carrollton looks like a pretty good sized hole. And a little bit of a hole here. You can kind of see those where you, so turning on our recommendations, we try to fill some of those holes. And do we have a summary of how many locations that is?
No, I think it's a little over around a dozen.
And so, yeah, and so then Melissa, go ahead.
All right, so section 2, we do have a few things that we have to revisit. And some of these were talked about last week. We're gonna kind of summarize that discussion. So, one would be, John S. Bradfield Elementary School. So this is a location that, we're bringing back because we have new survey information. We talked about it last week briefly, but there's only street parking available at the school. Now, this location does have very high turnout. It's 451 voters in May 21, 416 voters in May of 22. There are designated accessible parking spaces along in the street parking, but because our criteria for our survey included having, a parking lot, the street parking did put it on our radar to discuss. And because we talked about it last week, we're kind of bringing it back to the table today. So I think it was previously approved. So after the survey data, we said we'd bring things back to you guys if anybody wanted to make any recommendations different than that. Right now it's approved unless there's a motion to.
This is Molly from Disability Rights Texas. I had a couple questions about the street parking. Is the street parking, what kind of parking is it? Is it parallel or is it perpendicular?
It's parallel. It's right along the curve of the street.
Okay, and so for the accessible parking spaces, do those parallel, are the accessible parking spaces in the street?
Yes.
And do they have access aisles and routes?
I believe yes, because that was not marked as a no on my survey, but let me just pull it back up 1 second.
You have ramps.
And they have ramps as well.
They have ramps, you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
And access aisles? Sorry, it's kind of hard to hear.
I'm pulling up all the surveys. Sorry, that's not all right in front of me.
So if you're looking at the screen, it's this location right here, and click on the dot and you'll see your turnout location, your turnout numbers.
So our answers to the questions said, how many accessible parking spaces? And there was more than one. Are there designated parking spaces available located the shortest route? That answer was no, it's not the shortest route. Is there an accessible parking aisle adjacent to the parking spaces? That answer was yes. So yes, there are accessible aisles adjacent to the parking spaces, and they are level with the pathway. There's a ramp provided that separates, if there's a curve, there is a ramp provided.
If it's not closest to the entrance, where is there a plan to make it closer? Is there availability to make it closer?
We didn't go that far in terms of the survey at this point.
Well, I think that's something that'll need to be figured out, though, if it's approved as a voting site.
Which school district is this?
Highland Park.
I mean, so as an elections department, we can't control facilities. We can only pick the facilities that we use. And we can
Well,
have
you
a
can't
discussion.
control them, but you can make temporary fixes on election day and during early voting because it is a voting site.
And so what is the suggestion?
Well, if there's a closer option to make, if there's a option to make accessible voting closer, or I'm sorry, accessible parking closer, either by using an existing accessible parking spot that already exists in the school parking lot, if that's an option, or making a temporary one.
There's definitely no school parking lot at all at this location, it's only street parking. I think we have to look in terms of access to the building and the room that they're going to, where that
Right.
may lie at the entrance point to the building, but not the closest entrance to the portion of the building where our voting is taking place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I guess the question, I don't know if this is just a preliminary assessment of these locations, but then, my next question would be is where is the voting happening on that campus? And so do all the staff park on the street?
They must, because there's not a parking lot at all.
Elections on Saturday. Is Highland Park, I know Dallas and Richardson ISDs are closed on election days, not only Saturday, but during the week in November too, so there wouldn't be teacher parking that was.
That's correct. That Bonnie's indicating that she believes they are closed. Well, of course, they're closed on Saturday.
Right, but it would think also.
I think in the back, there was a question.
I did have just one question for and I just wanted to make sure. Wanted to make sure that the people who cannot get out of their cars, the people working the voting center, will they be able to get out there easily and bring the machines out to them?
Yes, curbside voting happens, absolutely.
Okay. And I wanted to make sure it wasn't like a far way away that would cause a problem holding up the process.
Where do they think curbside voting is going to happen?
So there's a kind of drive-through drop off, like for students. There is a drive-through U that goes through the building. There's no parking there, but there is a drive-through area. So that would be right out of the front entrance of the building.
Okay.
She's showing the pictures up on the screen now. If you want to look.
Just on this first side on Mockingbird.
Okay, so that's one that we wanted to present to you.
You have one more question?
Okay.
Do we have access to the number of voters that use the access to?
No.
It's a high turnout, right?
It is a high turnout location.
How many of them? We don't capture the data ourselves.
One.
Right. So that's going and go to your next review that we wanted to bring to their attention. No. There, I mean, this one's been accepted in the past, so we're just bringing this further information to you. It's an FYI, in case you want to do something with that.
So the second location is Prairie Creek Elementary School. And this location is being brought back similarly for survey information. There is also street parking only for this location in the front. There's a small parking lot in the back of the building. And the main entrance is over 300 feet from that parking lot. In the last meeting, we talked about this location fairly extensively, and it's also a busy turnout location for the area, well used by the community, regardless of the parking. It's on a dead-end street. So that traffic is not generally an issue, not only on Saturday, but also on election day, because there's not that school district closed.
That is my voting precinct, and like I said, Richardson schools are closed for the presidential time. And also, obviously, it's no teacher parking in Saturday. We have an excellent turnout, and we've never had any problems either curbside voting or handicap or any voters. So I would recommend we keep that.
And we don't need a motion if we're gonna keep it, right? Because they've already been accepted.
What's that voting center number?
2502.
502.
That's the school, correct?
It's a school as well, yeah.
Your next one that you wanted to bring in their attention?
We're still at number one.
We're in section 2. Yeah. So we had 2 locations that we actually had tabled the conversation on. They were a pair of locations, so we tabled it to bring it back up. And it's both that are 1501, the Professional Development Center, and then Richardson Heights Elementary School. I pulled that vote center number in Richardson. So they are essentially across the street from each other. And we discussed it previously. Professional Development Center. And there was not a decision made. They both have been surveyed since that original discussion. And just to highlight, when we had the original discussion, we hadn't yet determined if we were doing a low turnout, high turnout model or not. So this is coming back to the table after we made that decision. The Professional Development Center received a survey score of 91.4, and Richardson Heights Elementary received a survey score of 94.4.
The vote center number.
Hi, this is Sandra Hayes representing Richardson ISD. David Pate couldn't be here tonight. I don't, he asked me just to share information. Is this the time to do that?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's Richardson ISD would prefer that the Professional Development Center stay the voting site and not at Heights Elementary, if that's a consideration.
Could you repeat what you just said?
Yes, we would prefer to continue to use a Professional Development Center and not use Heights Elementary.
Because that's different than what's in the comment.
I feel like that is different. But
Yeah. Okay.
Is that a motion? There was no previous decision on this.
This one didn't have, this was left undecided to review. And then vote center 2507 for Richardson Heights.
I move that we keep the Professional Development Center in Richardson ISD for the vote center for that area.
Second.
I'm sorry.
It's been motioned and seconded that we
This is,
choose,
mhm.
we'll get a chance during discussion, that we accept vote center 1501 and we reject vote center 2507. Discussion.
This
This
is
is
Molly.
Amy Niemer, City of Richardson. I do recall seeing in the notes that we were provided, I thought that previously RISD had said the Professional Development Center was not their preference. So I just want to clarify, make sure that that has changed.
Yes, David and I and leadership had a discussion, and we prefer to keep the Professional Development Center as it is an adult facility and rather than the elementary schools.
Thank you.
I'm so impressed. You guys are paying attention and you got good memory. Get better than mine. Go ahead.
Elaine, CX. So do you mind highlighting where V2507, Richardson Heights Elementary?
Right across.
I'm trying to understand why those two are being discussed at the same time. Yeah, maybe it's across the street, that's fine, I just wasn't sure.
It's pretty close.
Oh, I see, okay, so there's those 2 yellow dots, yeah, right there, okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Representative Gonzalez, as I recall, these 2 locations both had a high turnover, about 400 something, both of them. So when we surveyed those locations, the Professional Development Center had a capacity to take the other 400 from the school, from the elementary school, will be sufficient.
So I want to clarify the turnout. So Professional Development Center, in May of 21, they had 127 voters. In May of 22, they had 84 voters. And
The other one had 176 voters in May of 21 and no voters in May of 22.
it wasn't used. So they actually did only use Professional Development Center in 22.
Did it have
higher number in November, is that? I know we're discussing May only.
Last year, we decided we needed this process. We did not use Richardson Heights. We just used professional.
Back in a year ago.
Yes, sir.
So any further discussion?
Yes, I have a question. This is Molly from Disability Rights again. Pertaining to, there's a comment on this saying that there are stairs along the pathway to the vote center. What is that talking about? That guides, does that provide entrance into the building? Is there a ramp in addition to those stairs?
Yes, there's a ramp in addition to the stairs.
Okay.
That's qualified based on that.
Okay, and then it says the door to the only accessible entrance has to stay locked during the day.
I'm looking for my voting site to clarify that.
The school.
The school, they typically keep their door locked.
Give a microphone.
But this is the professional development center.
Yeah, Molly, I hear you. And it seems to me that was, let's just unlock it. And so that's what our attitude with them would be. We would say, hey, can you just, I mean, sometimes when we run into these so-called problems, they're not unsolvable problems. This seems like a pretty solvable one.
Okay, well, I'm just asking because that's why y'all invited me, so.
Good point, good point.
If I might add clarification, we do have transition students that are at the Professional Development Center.
But not on election day or on a Saturday.
Not on the November election when school is closed and not on a Saturday, correct?
So during election time, the door would be able to be unlocked for election purposes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
One of the things that I have from November was the professional, they moved us to the gym instead of being in the auditorium. And the auditorium has better access and better parking. So we'd like to make sure that the auditorium is where we are and not the gym. Because the gym is hard to access. You have to go all the way down to the end and go up a winding ramp into that access where the auditorium is much easier to get to. That's the profession. Yes.
Any comments from the school district on that?
So we'll certainly try to accommodate, again, because we're a school district, we can't guarantee what's happening the week of the election. The auditorium obviously is used for school meetings and other actions that the district needs, but we will certainly try to accommodate. We do know it was a problem last November.
Thanks, Bob. Any other discussion? Okay, the motion is to accept 1501 and to reject 2507. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Next set.
Okay, so one more to review of this section is at Katy Polk Recreation Center. So we have previously accepted Katy Polk School. Okay, and this is Katy Polk Center, which is on a school campus. And right next door to that, there is a Katy Polk Recreation Center, which has been referred to us as potentially a better location. It's larger, it seems to have more space, it's rated at a 95. And so someone in the committee, I can't recall who it was, brought to bring to the floor a recommendation to replace the Katy Polk Center with the Katy Polk Recreation Center as the approved location. We've been using the Katy Polk Center prior to that, which is part of a school. So we're open to if anybody wants to do so, make a motion. Otherwise, we will keep the Katy Polk Center and move on.
It's part of of Richardson? Is it in
Dallas.
Richardson? It's in Dallas, okay.
This is Paris Long with the city of Dallas, proxy for Miss Billy Ray Johnson. It is the city council's position that they would like to keep the KB Polk Center, the elementary school.
Okay. There's no motion.
Wait a minute.
Unless we hear a motion to change the previous recommendation, we would move on. We only have one, right?
We have the KB Polk Center, which is part of the school. The KB Polk Recreation Center is not a location that we use, nor have we ever used.
And so just to clarify, so someone had suggested making that substitution of using the rec center instead of the Polk Center. The city's position is don't do that.
We have a hand up online, Mr. Yoris.
Yes, that was my quandary also. Why were we considering the KB Polk Rec Center, and based on what recommendation? When the city says they want the Polk Center, I mean, why was the Rec Center part of the conversation?
This was brought from within the group, I believe. And we said we would revisit it when we were talking about recommended locations at that time, which is during this time.
If I remember correctly, I think it was an issue with parking or something like that. I'm not sure. I think I remember something like that from that area.
So the representative from the city of Dallas is saying, do not utilize the rec center. Is that correct?
He's saying, let's move on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and move on unless I hear a motion. Okay. So there's no other things that we want to bring up for two. So other than looking at two as a whole, and so I'm trying to get to the right Zoom here. And what we want to look at right now is whether or not you think we have good coverage. If you, as you can see, there's been, looks like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 additions. Well, it might be 12 additions. I can't tell where that line is. We've added 12 locations. We've recommended 12 more locations to fill holes. And so the question is whether or not you have any questions about those ones that we filled holes in. Do you have any other concerns about that area number 2?
Can you tell us what the locations are in the upper right-hand, upper left-hand corner? We've got 2 recommended locations.
Blanton Elementary, Ted Polk Middle School, and Crosby Recreation Center.
Michael, this is Amy with Richardson.
Go ahead.
Has the First Baptist Church already been approved by this committee?
No.
First Baptist Richards, which, there's a lot of First Baptists. Which First Baptist?
First Baptist Richardson, sorry. First
No.
Baptist Richardson.
That's on the list.
Recommending.
Yeah, that's one of the light green ones that are marked as recommended up in the upper
Oh,
right.
they don't have a contract yet.
Okay.
It was not previously approved by this body because it was not reviewed. So now we're happy we've added it here as part of this review.
So are there any other questions about area number 2? Any other concerns? If not, I would entertain a motion to accept the Dallas County Elections Department's recommendations of the addition of that 12 or so locations as shown on the map.
So moved.
So moved.
It's been motioned and seconded that BCAC accept Dallas County Elections Department's recommendations for the addition of approximately 12 locations within that area 2. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We'll move to area number 3. Melissa has nothing for number 3. So as you can see, I'm just kind of toggle on and off. There's what was approved prior to. We saw some holes and we added these pins to that area.
In 3, I don't see any of the, okay,
So it looks like 4, 5, 6, 7 additions to area number 3. Kind of zoom in on that a little bit. That's helpful. So any questions about those additions or concerns about lack of additions, if you will?
Michael,
Yes.
I don't see the detail, but Dandy Rogers Elementary should go green. It was not available in May 2021 and May of 2022.
Who was that talking? He's online.
Yeah, when you speak online, especially, can you identify yourself?
I'm sorry, Lawrence Weiner, and used to be SEAC and Citizens Matter now.
Sorry. Can I ask a question about what he said? So, who's that?
Go ahead, Larry. What was your comment? Or question?
Well, we made Zion Lutheran Church and School go red, eliminated them, and that was considering that Dandy Rogers Elementary School is a usual voting site. It was not available in 21 and 22 because of significant remodeling. So, we would have a practical void in there. We've got the Skillman Southwestern Branch Library and then Ridgewood Recreation Center. But so it would be a significant help to have Dandy Rogers Elementary School. That's single family home density in that area. So
I will just say that Dandy Rogers is not on the list for us in terms of recommending to be added. Southwest, or Stillman Southwest Library, it is, I believe, 0.3 miles away.
Skillman Southwestern Branch Library is significantly limited on parking, and they're trying to support the village apartments, which is 12 to 15,000 residents. So the village apartments need some local help for a voting site.
So there were 215 people voted there in 21, or I'm sorry, 298 voted in 21 and 133 in 22. And the other location you're talking about is this, what, red dot here?
The red is Zion Lutheran Church and School, and to the east, about 0.39 miles, is a Dandy Rogers Elementary School, DISD Elementary School. That was not available in 2021 and 2022. It's on the corner of Lovers Lane and Abrams.
You just show me how to turn off X.
Yeah, just click on it. You want me to draw?
So this is Valencia. Well, listen, I'm not following what the recommendation is, sorry.
So our recommendation did not include Dandy Rogers Elementary School. I think what he is indicating is that he would like it to be added to that. So not taking our recommendations as a whole, but potentially adding another location as well, is what I'm hearing. I don't know if there's been a motion for anything other than this is part of the discussion.
This is Bonnie Wells. I move that we add the Dandy Rogers Elementary School to accommodate the apartment volume, resident.
Can you repeat your motion?
I recommend that we add Dan D. Rogers Elementary Vote Center 2068 to our vote sites.
I don't know if this is clear for everyone now, but this is, so this green dot, and this yellow in the middle is what we're talking about.
It doesn't have any numbers on it because it wasn't used, but then
Correct, so we haven't used it since November of 2020. It was not used throughout 21.
construction is
Ladies and gentlemen, we need to keep in mind that that was not used because there was significant remodeling going on at that school. And it is a traditional voting site, but it was not available because of remodeling.
I think we're just indicating there was no data on that in terms of usage turnout because there was no turnout at this location because it wasn't used.
But since
That that absolutely is a traditional voting site.
And since they're closing the vote center just to the west of that, I recommend that we add that 2068.
That was your.
And I'll just mention this as a point of reference. This is one of the areas, when you turn on the density, the volume of voters, it's a thick area.
Yeah.
So is it Joe's recommendation that we add it or not?
I move
I
that
mean,
we add
I don't have a position.
It's been moved and
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
And the people who live there recommended.
We still appreciate some kind of comment.
Michael, can we call, appropriate to call for the question?
Sure. Question's been called. The motion, I need help with the names. The motion was to add
Dan Rogers Elementary to our recommended.
Lister recommended. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Now, that's adding to our, we just dropped another light green pin. And so we haven't had, so further discussion about our recommendation. I'm gonna go ahead and share my map. This is the area that we're discussing, area number 3. Further discussions about that. If no further questions, I'll entertain a motion to add our recommended 2, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, looks like 8 locations now.
I move we. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we add, in addition to the previously recommended BCAC recommendations, to add 8 more locations as recommended on this map by the elections department. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll go to area number 4. Back out there, Irving. I think you've got some here to talk about.
I do. I have a couple to talk about here. So Irving Fire Station number 8, vote center 4627. Previously, we had presented this as potentially a survey issue. That is not an issue. We reevaluated it. There is a parking lot in the back of the building, so our team had it down as having no parking lot. And also, just to note, it is a isolated location for the voters in that area as well. So we had recommended it as being closed because of the survey, and we put a hold on that, so we come back and revisit it, so it's added now as a recommended location.
This is the on the map, I'm circling that.
Thank you.
And then the second location is Ministerios Cielo in La Tierra. I apologize if I butchered that at all. This is a location that is not ADA compliant. The entrance that they have some semblance of a ramp for is a piece of plywood on a step outside of the door that you have to go through grass to get to. We have reviewed this both with the city and the school district, and we are not recommending adding this location, and based on the inability to access for ADA needs.
And I believe someone from the school district wanted to comment. Debbie, did you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, just that it's just not, I don't think it's really up to being able to handle voting. It's a small area. It doesn't really accommodate a lot of people. There's not a lot of voting.
And I believe
the city of Grand Prairie and the school district recommend that we not use this one.
And just for reference, there were 6 voters in 2021 and 13 voters in 2022.
It's also not ADA compliant.
Correct.
And I think Irving, this is Shanae Jennings, I think Irving supports that as well. This is a non-issue to me. I think we're done with that one.
I think when we talked about this, we were talking about the community that it serves, whether they're voting in large numbers in the immediately past elections or not. But there are a lot of mobile homes, I believe, in that area around that Shady Trail. And that area, I think, would do a disservice to some of those people that might find it difficult to find another voting location.
But if it's not 80,
Is there something else that we would investigate? Is there something else that?
I believe when we discussed this with the city and the school district today, we had a meeting with them. And we talked about the importance of, for the presidential, to continue to search for a location, but there's nothing obvious now. And so that's why it's not an ADA compliant. It's just it's a low turnout. So that's why we didn't recommend it. So other comments, it looks like we've added a total of, sorry, go ahead, one more from Melissa.
Actually, 2, I apologize. We also had a couple of suggested changes from the commissioner's office, and so we want to look at J.O. Davis Elementary School. So that is a location that I believe is previously approved. And
yeah, it was. Melissa, this is Shanae Jennings from City of Irving. I believe the only 2 that we would have an issue with in the south side would be Good Elementary and Nimitz High School. Those serve a very special demographic, and it would not be anybody's request to remove them. I'm glad that Dallas County decided to add those back in.
are you talking about on our recommendations in general, right?
Yeah. I didn't know those were up for removal, but I would. Those are single member districts, and again, y'all got to remember that it's not all about the presidential elections and the senator elections. Our single member district elections do muster some approval. So those are. I'm not looking at J.O. Davis. Sorry, I'm looking at Nimitz High School and Good Elementary. J.O. Davis has already been approved.
Right, so I think we're talking about 2 different things, but I hear you and appreciate your comments on that. The recommendations in general, we did look at the areas that had no locations. Those are the ones you're commenting on. We have a couple other that are outside of this current list that we're bringing up today that came out of the commissioner's office. that we want to put up for evaluation from the group. And that's where J.O. Davis comes in. It's been approved by this group, but there's a recommendation to change that location to a West Irving Improvement Association, which I believe is.
Melissa?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Brooks Love from Commissioner Garcia's office. We had received a request from a constituent to have that location, the West Irving Improvement Association surveyed to see if it could serve as an alternative to J.O. Davis. I've looked at that location. I did not do the 45-point survey that you all have, but just looking at the location, I think J.O. Davis is a preferable location to that. So we withdraw our request for that. We'll just leave it at J.O. Davis.
Thanks, Brooks. And then the second consideration that we had is we have recommended the West Irving Library as a vote center, and there was a request to review the ICI Mock in Irving, which is in the same vicinity as that as a potential location.
Can you show that on the map?
West Irving Library.
Right there.
The West Irving Improvement Association, is that the same thing as the one?
No, there's two. Yeah. And so generally we lean towards public buildings, which is kind of the default in terms of elections. That's why the West Irving Library was listed between these two locations as a recommendation, but it was asked to be reviewed for ICI Mock instead.
And if I could further elaborate on that. So we kind of said, hey, we really, if you got any suggestions, some good quality buildings, bring them to our attention. And so this was one that was brought to our attention that we're throwing out there for you guys to consider. So we have no strong opinion on this. So any discussion, I guess, is the question. And as always, we always like to defer to the city and the school district too.
Do you have the vote center number? I took all my notes by the vote center number rather than the.
These two locations, I don't believe have vote center numbers because we have not used them previously.
Yeah, West Irving.
Yeah, y'all have used West Irving Library. In the past, none of y'all were here when you used it.
I think it was 2016.
Yeah, it was back in the day, but then it went under construction, the parking lot. So anyways, these are Irving. That's loud. Y'all good? We would just recommend West Irving Library. It's a city facility. It's a neutral facility, and it's the recommended facility by the city. And I would vote to accept all of Dallas County's, I make a motion to accept all of Dallas County's recommended locations.
Second that.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? Please.
This is a motion to accept all of Dallas County's recommendations.
Right,
The
the
ones
green-
that we're
Area
currently focusing on.
Correct, in area 4.
Okay, not all. Thank you.
Which does include the little white circles or not?
Anything that is green and that is the light green is the recommendation.
With the white, yeah, it's like
That's
those.
The last comment by Brooks Love, Does that change anything? Is that what we're talking about now?
No, because we have not put that in as a light green, so that's not one of our recommended, so, it's not on the table. Any more discussion?
So it looks like a total of 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. It might be 8. I can't
It's
tell.
8.
8 locations within area 4.
I'm asking League of Women Voters of Dallas, did the mosque not make this list? I couldn't follow the conversation.
The mosque did not make the list.
The mosque and the library back up to each other, and the city prefers that we have a public library.
They back up to each other.
Further discussion. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion to accept Dallas County's recommendation of adding 8 locations to Area 4, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign.
Motion carries. So we'll move on to area number 5. Good progress, guys. Melissa does not have anything for area 5. Okay, questions? Go ahead and turn off our recommendations, just to kind of give you, see where the hole, what we identified as the holes. And then our recommendations, quite a few in here.
Right, specifically, Sunset High School is in that area, is that correct? Can you tell me, it shows rejected. Can you tell me why that was rejected?
I think it's still potential.
Yeah, so Sunset High School is listed as the yellow color, which is, it's a potential location, but we did not put it in as a recommendation.
And it looks like it was not used in 21 or 22.
It was.
It was under construction, their construction is completed. Anytime you can use a high school over elementary, I would recommend a high school any day over elementary school. Because of the parking alone, and accessibility. But you have it across the street, we have a church, now, we've gone back and forth on this church for years about preparing the way ministries. We never, did anyone ever go out there and check it out? I know there's some questions about the parking
I think we've got the information for the survey.
The survey score of 99. Let's see. I'm gonna go into the details.
and the fact that we have high school, probably registered voters at the high school. I'd like to recommend that we approve Sunset High School.
I second that. That was in the form of a motion.
That is a motion, I did move.
Was that a motion to use Sunset High School in lieu of preparing the way ministries?
It was not in lieu.
In addition to.
In addition to.
Those are two very separate communities that are serving right there. And Hampton Road is huge. I've been on a wreck there.
Can't even cross it in a car.
Yeah. You're right. You better fucking watch.
It's been motioned and seconded to add Sunset High School to Dallas County's recommended additions to area number 5. Discussion.
Ma'am, did I understand that there was a motion for the opportunity to take away one of the elementary schools and put Sunset in instead of that? Was that what I understood?
No.
No.
What are you talking about?
If you look at the map, I'm showing Sunset High School and I'm showing Preparing the Way Ministries.
I understand that. You want to know what I'm talking about? The gentlelady said that high school would be preferable to a middle school. I didn't know what she was talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Dr. Levels, any further comment?
I'll go back to, that was my original statement, was that if we had to make a choice between the two. But my motion was to reinstate Sunset High School as a voting center. And that's not to affect the status of Idaho or preparing the way.
In addition to.
It's in addition to. Because that traffic is horrible right there. It's dangerous, and having registered voters at the high school and first-time voters, I think it's a disservice to take that away.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for clarification. I appreciate that. I'm with you.
Further discussion?
Yes, the church is on the side street. It's not on Hampton. It's off Jefferson, which is about 3/4 of that, a half mile from Sunset. Now, they have a large parking facility. I don't need that. And they could certainly handle if that needed to be while Sunset's still under construction. I was there today. And yes, it's a mess. I don't think you want anybody to go in there at this moment. It's pretty bad. But that location of that church is off the main road.
You said you would not want voters running to what location?
Sunset at the moment. And I'm an old Sunsetter, so I'd love anybody from Sunset. But at the time being, I wouldn't go there now. I'd wait.
On a Saturday though, or vote there on a Saturday, Sunset, they've got plenty of parking in the area right behind it. I recommend keeping Sunset open, especially if it's almost complete with the construction at the moment.
That was the same comment, in consideration then.
Okay. Does the school district have any thoughts?
Michael, this is Orlando with Dallas ISD. Our initial recommendation was to pick one or the other because they're really in close proximity to each other. Sunset is under construction right now, but I don't believe the area for the voting is affected by the construction. That would need to be, verified. But these two locations are extremely close to each other. It really doesn't make sense, in our opinion, to have both of these locations open.
Bonnie?
I'm sorry, I have to disagree with that.
This is you have a very busy street in between the two, and you have two very separate voting populations.
Can you explain it?
Well, you've got high school parents and students going to Sunset High School, whereas you have a different set of folks that are going to Preparing the Way, and they have a pretty good sized vote count.
If you're talking about the populations that actually visit these on a daily basis, yes, that's a different population, but these communities are pretty comparable, so I'm not understanding your comment.
Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion is to add Sunset High School. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to reiterate that those streets are very highly trafficked streets, and they have very unique, distinct communities on either side of those. So my recommendation is that we go and keep open.
We had one more comment back here.
I want to make sure I understand that we're voting on this for the May election, correct?
Yes, everything we're voting on tonight is for the May
So
election.
if it comes, when we do the, I guess we'll have another meeting again in November, then we could put the high school back in if we delay it now, or would that be a big problem?
To kind of broaden your question, your comment is, yes, everything's on the table. The idea is to have a reduced model for a small election.
Right.
Roughly, at this point in time, roughly 360 for a 9% turnout. And then up in that 450 area or more, or whatever you guys decide, for a 65% turnout election. So that's kind of where we're at, generally speaking.
So I do understand that let's see, it was suggested that we put Sunset High School back on the list as a recommendation. But if we keep it as it is now, I think we could cover it for the May election. And then when we revisit for the November election, we can put the sunset back on and construction will be fully completed. Does that make sense?
Further comments?
Is that a motion?
And I think that the motion, there's already a motion on the table. We're under discussion for that motion. So the motion is to add Sunset High School to the Dallas County Elections Department's recommended number of additions. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
No.
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 Motion carries. So I'm going to back out again. So we will add that as one of our pins that will to the additions. So I'm backing out here. So I'll just kind of take this, we'll take it the upper half and the lower half. So I'll just keep it that zoom level right now.
Can I go to number, Elijah and Peace Elementary? I brought it up, I guess, 2 meetings ago, and it now lists as rejected. I thought at that time that we were reconsidering Elijah and Peace because of that very dense, apartment. I'm sorry, Lavella LCA. I mentioned 2 meetings ago about Elijah and Peace Elementary School, and it shows rejected. I thought that we were reconsidering, and I'd like to bring it back as a voting center. There's a hugely dense population there. It's a multiple apartment complexes. And I know there was a question around the voting numbers, and it was stated that because we have the numbers of they have a participation in the elections that was recommended for a rejection. I think it's even more reason to have a voting center in that vicinity. If you notice, I see the other recommended areas in the Fruitvale areas.
I don't show that as rejected.
It's red.
Yeah.
Does
It
red
is
mean
supposed to
rejected?
be, that is incorrect, you're right, it was supposed to be potential. Not, it's not one of the, it was not one of our recommendations, however, but it was, should be listed as a potential, not as a rejected.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to bring it back as a voting center. That's even more reason. You notice, that's Loop 12, Highway 4, 6 lanes, and also Bonneview Road, which is on the other side of the school. The apartment residents would have to cross one of those major streets to go to a voting center. So I would recommend we maintain, it's a neighborhood school. No, it may not have the participation and the turnout as other locations, but that's even more reason sometimes to keep a voting center in an area. I move to allow the Elijah in Peace to stay as a voting center.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to keep Elijah M. Peace Elementary School as part of our DCD's recommendation to add it to the additions to the ones that we've previously approved by this group. Discussion.
How far is that from next location?
Someone give me
Wait, I want to pause for 1 second. Orlando, can you confirm, it's marked as a VCAC rejection, but I believe it might have been intended to be marked as unavailable because I have a note here that it says it's under construction. Is that, can you confirm that that's the case?
Melissa, can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, that facility is supposed to be under construction. I don't know if the construction has started, however, but that facility will be under construction. But I don't know the exact.
The market as if it comes from the school district is not available construction.
As
So
they hadn't started. I think it may be available by May.
I'm just going by the school district. I can't answer that.
I have a real problem going to the school district. They're giving their facilities for free.
I have a real problem going against the school. When they recommend, and they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart, because it's still all the same taxpayers. And when we go against what they are recommending or what they want, I think we need to be good, partners in all of this. And if they recommend for something not to be done, then I go with what they have to say.
And I would agree with that in most scenarios, because that was the job that I did for 15 years. So I understand when you represent the school district, you are keeping that in mind. You want to make decisions in the best interest of the students first, the staff, the parents, and the community. I think, again, right now, those persons will have to travel across major thoroughfares. I understand that construction will begin soon. It's not expected, if you look at the documents with Dallas ISD, it's not expected to start until the summer. And so if that's something we want to consider for the November election, if they started construction, then that's fine. But at this point, it should be available by May. And I do understand, being a good partner with the school district, we definitely want to do that. But I am concerned about persons not being able to have a voting location within a certain amount of miles and not having to cross major thoroughfares.
Kevin, can you tell us the distance between those locations?
But that's a recommend, that's not approved. What is the closest approved?
0.5 miles distance between the two.
And that doesn't say you need the distance if you really want to go.
Unless you walk in the rain.
Well, and you know, that can happen anytime we vote, right, walk in the rain. I mean, we have weather here. This is Texas and it changes.
Point of order, about this question because, or clarification. I believe that around there's some low-income housing, is that
All of
correct?
the entire area is low income.
I work with low-income families and a lot of them lack transportation.
And I don't know
That
about.
would be difficult to do, especially in inclement weather.
Kebron Alexander, I would like to offer as an alternative location if Elijah M. Peace is unavailable. Cummings Recreation Center is right down the street. And that would seem to be the wonderful complement to, because the church in question is, pardon the expression, it's off in the cut, like right across the street from another church. It's a little difficult to get in and out for ingress and egress, and it's really off the beaten path. You have to know exactly where you're going to get to that church, but Cummings Recreation Center is known. It is not hard for the residents in the area to get to. Everybody knows where it is.
Yes.
I would like to offer that as a compromise location or an alternate location if Elijah Peace is unavailable.
So the question though, I mean, keep in mind where we're at. I hear you, Kebron, and I would say that makes total sense if we're looking for our long-term plan. We can't just have eminent domain and say, you're going to be a vote center. We have to have negotiations. We have to talk to these folks. So I don't know that that's doable, especially since we're trying to finish tonight. But I'd certainly entertain that location or any other location as we continue to look through the next several months. And we'll survey any location that's brought to our attention.
Motion is on the table right now.
So the motion is to add Elijah M. Peace Elementary School to our list of added locations. Any further discussion?
I'm sorry. So the rejection was because it is under construction, it's about to be under construction?
Orlando, do you have any more information on this one?
Will be
Clarification.
To the scope that's posted in the, on the school board website. I think the construction begins in the summertime. I believe the construction begins in the summertime.
Good argument from,
Yeah,
levels, but it doesn't mean anything if we come to it and, oh my God, there's a bulldozer in front of it.
You never know.
So, I mean, but that's a good, I favor this point that the young lady over here made.
Right.
But if only the rejection is because of construction, and and I'm still unclear. I'm still unclear.
So yes, the information that was provided to us from Dallas ISD at the time was that that location would not be available due to construction. So that was what was brought forward in terms of why it should have been marked as unavailable. There was not another reason at that point in time that we had indicated. So it is not recommended from us because of that reason.
And he just shared that they have not started construction.
It is not started, but it's also March. So I don't know, by the time the election comes, I'm not sure what to think.
Well,
We didn't get that answer.
Can I throw another ball in that? We do know, because Mountain View College is supposed to be already under construction, but they're not because permits have not been completed. Now, I would assume that this elementary school is probably behind, because Mountain View should have been a year down the road from where we are. So they may not be having any construction come May. So it may be perfectly usable.
Just for
Now,
May.
you have to check to see if they get their building permits.
I understand all your points. I'm just gonna reiterate Melissa's point. All we can do as an elections office is operate from the information that's been given to us by the school district. So unless I hear otherwise, that's still kind of what's on the table. But you might be totally right. I don't know.
Michael, this is Orlando. Construction hasn't started, and because the school is being used today, I doubt very much the construction would start while classes are in session for this semester. So it should very well be available for voting.
Okay. Any further discussion? So the motion is to add Elisha M. Peace Elementary to our list of DCED's list of recommended locations. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no.
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 Motion
No.
carried.
Now, can you now look at Yosemite Baptist Church in Joppy? That is the only voting center on that side of 45. And I understand only 12 people voted, but you probably have less than.
Is that in the same area? We're going by zone.
We're in the same
Can you give me the name again so I can?
I'm in the same zone.
Yes.
Yosemite, that little red dot, it's a red dot. That's it right there. That's a very historical neighborhood that's been underserved for many years. There's probably less than 200 people that even live in that area. And it's, as you can see, it's very remote, but that is the only voting center for that area. That is Joppy. So I move that we maintain a voting center at Yosemite Missionary Baptist Church.
So just for.
Second.
So it's been moved to second. I just want to point out that the reason this location is listed is because of survey responses. The note said that this location does not have, there is a ramp available to access this location for accessibility, but it does not lead to the voting room. And I don't know, my voting site team wants to expand any more on that information. There is no accessible parking spaces. The parking lot is an open field, and the ramp that is available does not lead to the voting room. So just
that is probably true. That's Joppy.
But, I mean, I'm sorry, it is on the side of the church, and unfortunately, it's not going into the main voting.
Where voting happens.
Right.
The ramp you're talking about.
The ramp.
We have no other vote center in Joppy. We cannot, we've got to figure out a way to keep this vote center for Joppy.
Is there any other locations in that area?
No, there is not.
There is not.
There is no public.
No, ma'am,
No.
it's Joppy.
That's Joppy.
It's a Freedman stand.
It's a scandal in our community that we've allowed that to happen.
It is, but it is what it is.
But you have to.
It is. There's nothing there.
I do have to say though, I hear what you guys are saying, but, you know, I think that we are opening up the county and these jurisdictions who are conducting this election
Right.
up to potential litigation.
And I'm gonna say this, Michael, if we want to be consistent, I mean, I want to be consistent. But if we're going to say that this particular center, that it can't be a center because because it lacks disability access or whatever the guidelines that we want to say, make sure that we're saying that with all of them. Because I know that there are some of these centers that do not have disability access, and they don't have ramps. They don't have restrooms for disabled persons. So all of the centers, if we're gonna make that.
Well,
decision-
restrooms are not a requirement for ADA, or not an ADA requirement for voting.
Based upon this center, let's make sure that we're gonna be consistent with all of them, is all I'm asking. I don't want the county to be vulnerable for any lawsuits, but at the same time, let's ensure that if that's the decision upon this center, let's make sure that that is consistent with all of them.
And if we're gonna talk about walkable communities, there is no other community that has access for this group of people in Joppy. There's nothing else there. These residents will be at an extreme disadvantage to have to go to Martin Luther King or Lincoln High School to go vote in a ADA compliant vote center. Those are the nearest two major vote centers, and
Well,
those
this
are not
is-
votes for Joppy.
This is Molly from Disability Rights Texas. I mean, polling sites are mandated to be ADA compliant. But that's not to say that a vote center cannot become compliant. I mean, I think if this is a site that is vital to the community, then we need to look at talking to the site and letting them know what needs to be fixed. And if it's important to the community, maybe they can rally and work on fixing some of this stuff.
Yeah, you can always make ramps. I mean, there's with wood, you can do things, but I just hate to get someplace that's not ADA compliant and somebody files a suit. Because that would subject all of us to some real hardship in the future, I'm telling you.
I would hate for this county to be sued for voter suppression for closing a center that is the only thing available to a community. That, in that community, we would be more liable for that type of a lawsuit than we would somebody falling.
Frankly, it's Dallas's fault, so.
Well, maybe this is Molly again. Maybe we can look at what needs to be fixed. Let's look at how to make it accessible.
I agree.
But because it's a church, I mean, it's going to be on that church to make those repairs.
I hear where all of y'all are coming from, and I think it's important, but, who's gonna be the one that gets them ADA compliant?
So this particular one is based off of what we've got here. It's in section 6 anyway. So let's hold this one to the next group. Let's continue our discussion about section 5. Yes.
Could you clarify for me the status of CF Carr Elementary School? Could you clarify for me the status of CF Carr Elementary School? I understand our city councilman, Omar Narvaez, has expressed some particular interest in making sure that, or hoping that one is open, as well as the Eladio Martinez Elementary School for Daisy Zaragoza.
The CF Carr Elementary School is not on the list of approved or recommendation.
That is a very unique community right there as well. It's on Hampton Road again. And it's an area that should be kept open as a vote center. As well as Eladio Martinez, I wanted to know if you can clarify the status of Eladio Martinez or JC Zaragoza.
Eladio Martinez has already been approved, so that's an approved location. And I think JC was just been using replacement for that at times. It wasn't, yeah, so it's not currently recommended. We've used that in the past as a replacement when Eladia was unavailable. Eladia Martinez is an approved location already.
Has there been a history of, J.C. Zaragoza being used, or has it always just been a replacement for Eladia Martinez?
It's only been used as a replacement.
And did you say on car that it is not currently approved?
It's not approved and it's not on DCED's list recommendation.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we bring back Carr Elementary School for approval as a vote center.
Second.
Is that a good shot?
Chevy's on the side?
Yes.
Yeah.
So can we, so Kevin's showing, Kevin, if you turn on, there you go. You want to zoom in a bit on that, Kevin? Kevin's gonna be a better driver than me.
Oh, no.
He's got a better computer.
Go, Kevin.
Are you really sure it's the computer?
I think that's a big area that we have a gap in there.
Other one's right.
We're just kind of looking at that car in relation to the other locations, just so everyone knows where we're talking about.
Put on the green, accepted at the DCE recommended.
Okay, I got it, accept and DC recommended.
Then you're zooming into the, oh, yeah.
So it's been motioned and seconded that we add CF Carr Elementary School to the list of Dallas County recommendations. Discussion.
Can you zoom out so we can see what's closer, close?
There's Anita Martinez Recreation Center. Right here in the. There's another.
Yes, this is Paris Long with the City of Dallas again, and I can confirm Councilmember Narvaez, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Narvaez would like to keep both CF Carr and Anita Martinez rec centers.
Are we also keeping West Dallas Center? They're all right there.
Yes.
Okay, so they're all three.
And I also asked about Anson Jones Elementary.
No, we've got a motion.
No.
Any further discussion? Okay, it's been motioned and seconded that we add CF Carr Elementary to the list of Dallas County recommendations we're considering to add to Area 5. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes.
Michael, at this point, I'd like to ask about Anson Jones Elementary School and also L. Donald Elementary School.
And that's in that same area?
It's in Arcadia Park.
It's in the same section 5, yes.
Section 5, yes.
So Anson Jones Elementary School is not listed as one of our recommendations.
Working in that community, it would be a big gap if we don't have anything in that area. There's a lot of apartments right there off of Cockrell Hill Road that would all vote in that, at that location.
So Kevin, can you just click on that? Let's look at the stats on that one.
And with closing Mountain View College, and.
So the average turnout, I'm sorry. I was just gonna review, the average turnout, or the turnout in 21 was 11 people, and turnout in 22 was 7 people. Survey score of 95, huge capacity. What's the distance between that and the nearest location, Kevin?
Is it Martin Weiss or is it Mountain?
Which part? Martin Weiss.
It looks like Cockrell Hill City Hall maybe.
Cockrell Hill City Hall?
Yeah, Cockrell City Hall too.
Okay. But that is a very distinct community separated by Jefferson Boulevard, which is a wide and highly trafficked street, and also Copperell Hill on the left, to the west. That's a unique community, a lot of apartments. I don't know why the people aren't voting, but there should be a lot of voters registered in that area.
If you zoom out also, Melissa, with us looking at closing, not utilizing Mountain View and Leslie Stemmons, persons will have to overflow into those other areas. So closing Mountain View and Leslie Stemmons will definitely affect those nearby voting centers.
Hanson Jones, wasn't
Kevin, can you tell us when you click on Hanson, what is the average distance travel for people, for those 7 people that, or 11 people that voted there?
It's 3 miles in 21 and 4.4 miles in 22. So people do drive a distance to go to that 11, and some people do drive a distance to go to that location. So I hear what you're saying, but I don't recommend to reinstate it because of the number of voters, and people do drive to get to that distance, so they can easily drive to Cockrell City Hall.
And I can't see the numbers from Mountain View and Leslie Stemmons, but you have to accommodate for those 2 areas that were closing, and they will have to go to those nearby centers. There's a lot of students. And I don't know what the numbers are at the voting center at Mountain View.
A question about the voting center, Mountain View, would it be already under construction? As was referenced earlier, there was not a building permit for them to start even on that.
And Blair, they talking about closing it.
I don't think they will.
I guess I'm really concerned about wanting to keep the center open. You're saying there's a lot of people here and you only have 11 people. Either we're not doing a good enough job telling people that there's an election or something else is wrong. I don't, well, Cameron, we had that discussion. We're not getting the communication out about election.
And that's a community that would need a lot of communication in Spanish.
Okay. So clarification, you said Mountain View being closed?
Yeah, it's on.
That's, it's on the recommended, not recommended.
From W College, Dallas College, it's listed as recommended. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Okay, I just worked there. So I was told that it was not recommended.
Just to clarify, it wasn't previously recommended by the BCAC. We looked at it and we said, hey, there's a hole there. We recommend it.
Yeah, okay.
In early voting, a lot of people didn't know it was there. It's taken years now in elections for people to begin to come in there, because I work early voting there. Yes, it is, and the students are voting there. It's a good thing.
Very good.
So we're looking at Anson at this point.
Why are you picking my schools? I went to elementary school there. Back when we used the flips and the curtains and all that other stuff, man.
What was the last motion?
I believe the last motion was to add Anson to the list of tonight's recommendations.
It's already listed in my sheet. Anson Jones? Or is that-
Anson Jones was not recommended by you previously, and it was not recommended by DCED.
It's yellow. It's on the.
The question on the spreadsheet that I just pulled up from the website.
That was from the second, that was a
Okay.
week ago now. Yeah, we made recommendations between our last meeting and now. We looked at the holes that remained after Wednesday and Thursday's meeting. Thursday, nothing was done, but we looked at the holes.
So just a quick question. So Anson Jones and George Peabody are both closed for now. So we have that section north of Jefferson without a location.
Yeah.
That's correct. George Peabody is definitely under construction, so that would have to be closed, and that would be the next voting location open.
That's correct.
So if you're closing those locations, then you're leaving that entire area without a polling location, north of Jefferson.
George Peabody south of Jefferson still.
So right on the street and the other one's north.
Right.
So you're leaving.
But the area that Ray De Los Santos was talking about is it's extremely low income, and not all the people there are as mobile as, you know, as some other areas. So you have a lot of people in there that may not have vehicles or and have to take public transit, or they may just not be very mobile at all.
I hate to argue, but the average distance driven was 3 miles. Point down.
That community though has, like you said, a lot of very low income people that don't, and it's really a fault of ours as a community for not really educating them that there's an election coming and having them come out and vote. I think, especially we're gonna do away with George Peabody, that we need to have that as a vote center for the people that use to vote at Peabody.
Okay, further discussion.
So are you closing L. O'Donnell too? Know what I'm saying? The yellow dot? Yes,
It's not recommended.
it's not recommended. That would leave only Copper Hill City Hall. Has anybody been to Copper Hill City Hall lately?
Very small.
You can probably like a small mouse and swinging around there. I'd still recommend Anson Jones and L. O'Donnell be on the map. I'm sorry.
We've got a motion on the floor right now for Anson Jones.
Has it been second?
And there's been so much
it was
discussion, I'm confused as to which one I'm looking at that they're recommending, that y'all recommend.
So, sure, I'll go ahead and try to clarify. So Anson Jones Elementary School is being recommended to be added to our list for tonight. And the point being made is that George Peabody is closed or not to be reopened, and neither is L. O'Donnell. So there's a feeling, even though there was only 11 people that voted there, there's still a hole that needs to be filled. That's kind of summing up the discussion.
That's a big area.
Further discussion? Okay, so seeing no further discussion, the motion is to add, quit making me dizzy, Kevin. Anson Jones to our list of recommendations for tonight. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
Motion carries. Other discussion about Area 5.
I'd like to also bring up L. O'Donnell Elementary School. As was said, George Peabody has been closed, and it is also a unique community. There, that the Copper Hill City Hall is very small.
Okay.
L. O'Donnell.
Yeah, I don't think so.
L.
Tell space though.
Center number is
L. O.
061.
And or 061.
406.
Yes.
No.
Go ahead and zoom in a little bit more, Kevin. Okay, so you see that one is near Cockrell Hill City Hall. Go ahead and click on it for the stats, Kevin. So it looks like it was not used in 21 or 22.
Is it under construction?
I don't believe. I'm dead. I don't believe so. I think that actually the BCAC decided to not use it. It was used in the March election of 22, and it was used again in November. It was not used in either May election.
In this past November, the turnout was 108.
November 22 was 108. In March of 22, it was 29.
So why was it not scheduled to be open or used for this year?
You mean upcoming or previous? In the previous May election, this body here made a decision to not use it. When we were reducing vote centers ahead of the last May election, it was on the list to not use.
Tells the distance between that and the nearest location.
I have this that it has potential, but not that we voted not to use it.
For last year, we decided not to use it for 22.
0.18 miles from the nearest location.
What's the distance travel?
Since it wasn't used in this May elections, we don't have that.
Again, similar to some of the other locations, this is a very low income cost, and, housing in Dallas County is located right there, but that also consequently means that the people that are living there, are struggling a lot more than others. Transportation is always an issue, so, that is my recommendation.
Question? Is anybody here from the city of Cockrell Hill? No. Is it possible to close Cockrell Hills as a city hall, as a location, since it is tiny, and leave L. O'Donnell in its place?
No.
No.
Cockrell Hill is a city. If you remove that location, there will be no voting locations in the city of Cockrell Hill. So for their city council elections, they would have to go into Dallas to vote.
L. O'Donnell's on Cockrell Hill?
No.
No, it's actually in Dallas.
Question back here.
I just want to make a comment. Cockrell Hill City Hall, even though it's small, I hear y'all saying, but the capacity is 1,440. And we only have 50 turn out, and then 77 people turn out for the 22. So it very well covers however many people will travel from L. McDonald to Cockrell Hill. And it's within that 3.3 of a miles distance.
0.18 miles.
What's south of that?
There's a motion. I don't know if we have a second.
Yes, he has.
So it's been motioned and seconded that we add L. O'Donnell
There's not really anything.
to our list of locations that we're recommending for tonight.
Michael, could we see it on the map up here?
Yeah, I'm trying to get that volume, kick me out.
Well,
Patrick?
I'm throwing it up. I just lost it. White screen. I have it.
You guys need new internet or something?
We need
I'm
some.
gonna tell you what we need. I'm gonna pause for a second. We have a lot of problems with wireless here. We got these little wireless connections,
There's somebody else?
Yeah.
and we've asked for it to be fixed many times. A little irritating.
That little green.
There's no cell, but there's a standard that's open to the higher. No.
Okay. So just to clarify, L. O'Donnell is down here at the bottom of my screen. Really trying to scoot it up. My computer will allow me.
Could we see what's just south of that?
So that's L. McDonald.
okay, what's that one?
If I zoomed out just a little bit here, so we've got L. O'Donnell here, and this is the south area out there. This is Martin Lee's Recreation Center. This is Cockrell Hill City Hall.
It sure seems that there's a large area just south of there that doesn't really have anything to vote in.
I just point out it never has either.
Yeah, it's not surprising.
Seems like that.
Being underserved or not served, the past, there's no reason to not serve them.
Is it residential or is it?
It's residential.
Yeah. Were you gonna start singing?
So-
I was worried, since you were just gonna start singing to us.
Go ahead.
All right, apparently you've got Weiss Park, which is just east of where L. O'Donnell would be. It's probably 2 miles. But Weiss Park has always been a voting center.
It's early.
I
What's the
think it's
plan?
actually half a mile, because it was within the 3/4 mile grouping of that.
So if Eldon doesn't go, there's still close enough facility for people to go there. And it's a tight community. You know, if you consider Clarendon a busy street, I don't think there's 2 lanes, but it'd still be a close enough place that people of that area. And I grew up in that area, so I know that they still have a place to go vote if they wanted to, yes.
And to add to that, Martin Weiss is 0.6.
Okay.
Been motioned and seconded that we add L. O'Donnell to our list of recommendations for tonight. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed signify by saying no.
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 I believe the noes have it.
Yeah, that was 6
I
no.
want to call for a roll call vote.
Okay, looks like we got a roll call vote. We'll test out our modified technology.
Go for it. No
Y'all
pressure.
wait on me.
Yes.
Are you?
Okay.
They had to get through. The vote is up.
The vote is up. I'm gonna drop it in the chat. I see votes are coming in already,
Poll is up, poll is up.
and I'm putting it on the screen right now.
Read it loud.
As soon as I.
It's just like America's Got Talent.
All right, this is what we got. Oh, wow.
Well, we can't see it.
Oh, what?
What?
When I clicked on it, it went away.
Where did it go? We see you.
Hold on.
You didn't vote. Did you, is it on a timer?
No, there's no timer. There's no timer. No timer.
It's still available.
So where do I'm challenged, where do I go to go vote?
So if you're on the, are you on Teams?
It says waiting for.
Yeah, this one that says waiting for presentation to begin.
Did you get disconnected?
Oh,
There it is. There it is.
Now
it's
back.
Must be the Wi-Fi.
Okay, next.
So we have 22 so far. 15 to 7.
How many people have voted?
And would somebody explain again, if you're on Teams, how do you vote again?
I dropped it in the chat, or you can go to pollev.com/plaird866. It's on the screen right now.
Okay. Thank you, Norman.
Yes, sir.
How do I vote twice?
You don't.
You like her, the lady.
No, I have to. Twice actually. Sorry. I don't have to.
How many people eligible to vote? They're assigned these.
I haven't been in it. So then, what kind of
I showed 36.
But all those persons voters?
Yes, these are voters and not including 2 from the same organization.
Okay, 36. And how many participated?
We were at 25 a moment ago.
Okay, so we're missing
It's cheaper than.
11 people?
Thank you.
We're missing 11 persons haven't voted,
It looks like 10 now.
10.
So
Do we need to call them by name? Can we help them?
is anyone having trouble casting a vote, or are you just choosing not to vote?
Are you abstaining?
Anybody online having trouble voting?
Yes, stand by. This is John York. I'm having trouble voting. Hang on.
Yes, the chat or this website that's presented on the screen, pollev.com/PLaird866.
Because of,
Can you just tell
can they just say
me
yes or
vote?
no? Can they just say yes or no in the chat? Can you help John, please? Please.
I got it.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
So now we're up to 28. Is there anyone else that would like to cast a vote? Oh, we got one more in the room.
We're having issues. 6 people. What, 6 people?
Cadena, Felicitas Cadena.
I can write the vote down.
Just yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you see my?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know what happened.
I'll see. Yes, Elaine Campbell voted yes. Is there anyone else online or in the room that would like to cast a vote? I only have 28 votes, 29 including this one in the room.
We got 4 people abstaining or not voting.
So including the yes we have in the room, the vote is, the noes have 18, the yeses have 12, the noes win. So we will not be accepting line 515 L O'Donnell Elementary School. On this vote.
Question or comment?
Michael, I'd like to ask for clarification on the status of the Academy of Dallas as a voting center. It's on Wynwood Village, Vernon, at Illinois. I don't know the vote center number. Academy of Dallas.
Hey, Cher, are you up again?
Still in section 5.
So this is not gonna show, I'll let the police lady get that, but I'll kind of give some background. This is not a vote center that we have in our current, even in our current model, we don't use it as a vote center. It was used previously in 2019, May of 2019. It has not been used since. And so it's not added to our recommendations, and it's not one that has been used again since 2019.
So to clarify, it's never been used in the vote center model, because the vote center model came in November of 19.
And the reason I asked is because I was asked about this by County Commissioner Garcia, particularly as it relates to the voters there in the Wynwood area, the housing projects that are there and such. So I didn't know how to answer a question, and so that's why I was asking for that clarification. And is it a possibility that that could be open to accommodate the people there at those housing authority projects? Because that is a very distinct community, so that is also going to be challenged to travel a significant distances to vote.
I think anything's a possibility, but we also have time constraints of being prepared for May. So I don't know that we've made contact with this location. No, we have not. We don't know if it's available. We haven't surveyed it, et cetera. But
There's Elmwood, Wayne Samaritano Church is 0.45 miles, and Margaret B. Henderson Elementary School is 0.47 miles.
Are both of those locations going to be open?
Going back to that, not to double check.
It's my understanding that we were going to go or recommend not bring back Henderson. When somebody found it, but my memory could be faulty.
Elmwood is one we are keeping. Margaret B. Henderson. It's not.
So I have a question. If, like in his case, he's wanting some of these other places to be considered in the future. Certainly, we're saying right now we can't do this new location. So who would he send something to asking for this to be considered for a future election? What's the process?
So we've already done that process and we'll always continue to do that process. That's to our voting sites group, because then they survey it, they put it into the hopper for us for consideration.
So next time.
I know Dr. Garcia is very, very interested in bringing back a vote center right in that area, because there are, as I said earlier, that's a big housing project areas. Dallas Housing Authority has big commitment in that area. So that would be, I think, something appropriate for us to do.
Mr. Whitehouse?
My last question would be Peeler Elementary. Could you clarify this as a Peeler Elementary?
You're talking John Peeler Elementary School? John Peeler Elementary School?
Yes.
That's on the list for us. We've recommended that location to be used.
Very good, thank you. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Mr. Weeks.
Yeah, back to the location in Wynwood. That was a voting location years ago. And for why it was never, you said 2019 was the last time you showed it being used.
May of 2019.
Yes, and there are projects on the other side of Wynwood. There's not as many today as there were 6 weeks ago because they've torn them all down. I'm sure they're rebuilding. So that is a valid point. Part of that precinct.
So can I'm sorry.
All right.
I want to try to remind you guys of the time. And we've got some things to go. So unless you've got something.
Well, I would recommend that you put it on a list to come back to it. I wouldn't worry with, because I can tell you this, that school today is surrounded by 10-foot fence. It's enclosed the entire time. Nobody can get in. So how good a spot it'll be, I don't know today. But in the future, because you're closing Henderson, thank you, there could be the spot where the folks that handle Henderson could go.
Okay. Further comments about area number 5? Anybody? Anybody online? Further comments about area 5? Can you turn off your yellows, Kevin? Zoom in a little bit. I think I had it. So I saw some potential holes in area 5 that we need to fill going forward for presidential. So there's just some areas that there's just not good coverage. And so this is an area that we're going to target. And I think some of those are because of new growth, especially in the far south. So having said that, go ahead and turn on the green pins, please. The DCED recommended. So I would entertain a motion to add our DCE recommended, supplemented by what you just voted on, to add to that group.
Also moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded that we accept the green pins that DCED has recommended, in addition to the ones that you guys voted on tonight. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion carries. Move to area number 6, Kevin. A lot of holes in area 6. And so you can see that we had right down the center, we saw a whole bunch of blank space, and we had a whole bunch of, I can't even count how many we've got. If somebody wants to total those up. So any questions about this particular area?
Go back to Jaffe.
Oh yeah, there you go. So we go to Jaffe, that's that far on the left.
Under the
border.
line.
I think you got to turn on your rejected, Kevin. Your
The
red.
name of the facility?
Yosemite Baptist Church, right down the line.
With the G?
Yeah, so for the far left of the screen on number 6. This is the one we were talking about before.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a motion
To keep that one open, is that right? Yes, there's nothing else there.
Do we need a new motion or is that?
Yeah, I entertain a new motion.
I did, I moved and there was a second.
I know, but we kind of moved on, so if you want to remake that
Yeah,
motion.
we're now in section
Okay,
six.
I move that we, keep Gethsemane, Baptist Church as a voting center in the Jopley area.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we keep.
Gethsemane Baptist Church.
Yes. Any discussion?
It's been shared, gentleman here just shared, there are several other churches in the area. I'm not sure, I don't know the churches, but there's 4 or 5 other churches in the area that can possibly be considered for the presidential election moving forward. So if we're looking at possible recommended sites, and they may not be in any better condition, but, he indicated there are 4 or 5 other churches close by.
Can I say this? If you vote for this motion to keep this location, we will keep our eyes open, even for May, to see if there's a better alternative that's ADA compliant.
Yes.
And, or we will look to see if there's a way we can make it ADA compliant with some
Thank you.
portables.
That needs to be done. Whatever we need to do to make it compliant, no one wants it non-compliant. As a voting center, we want it at 100% compliant and a voting center in that location. That's the goal.
So it's been motioned and seconded to keep Gethsemane, to add that to our list of recommendations. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you, everyone.
Other comments about Area 6?
I actually have one thing in Area 6 to bring up. We received an email this morning from the city secretary. Bald Springs Recreation Center was on our list of locations that we're recommending, and it will not be available due to construction for the May election.
It'll come back in the November election. May, it's under construction.
And the civic center that we are using is 0.6 miles away from that. And previous elections, there were 13 voters in 21 and 43 and 22. So we're going to remove our recommendation from the Bald Springs Recreation Center for that. That's all I have about.
Any other thoughts about area number 6? I will comment that I still see in Bald Springs, there's a, Kevin making me dizzy. Zoom in.
You say 6, I think you mean the whole 6.
No, no,
Go ahead.
6. I still see a, go ahead and zoom in, please. Is it 6? There we go. I still see a pretty good hole in the middle there. And but we got nothing.
Right. Michael, this is Cindy with Bald Springs. Is Floyd Elementary, is there someone from the school district? Because it used to be a polling location, but I guess when they redid the school, I think it stopped for a while. And then I was just seeing if that was going to be available for the May election.
Mesquite ISD, is it not?
I think that it's marked as one of the recommended locations. Yeah, it's one of our recommended locations.
I still see, and here's another hole that I see. If you look right below the word Lawson.
Yeah, there's nothing there. It's that Cleburne area. It's a very rural, very extremely rural, a lot of mobile homes and very rural area.
It is great, isn't it? It just, when you get those visuals to see the population density and, points versus what we got, it really helps us frame what we need to work on.
Downside, you guys, Cleburne Elementary is downside.
This is Renee Steve Garland. Is North Garland Library still tentative?
She's looking.
So North Garland Branch Library is in section 9, so we will talk about that when we get to section 9.
Any further questions or thoughts about section 6?
move we approve section 6 as
Amended.
Yes.
Second that.
It's been motioned and seconded that we accept section 6 as, I'm sorry, to accept section 6 as DCE recommendations as amended tonight. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Section 7.
I don't want to throw up on his head. No, I'm trying not to.
Okay, I think we had some, Melissa, I think we had some comments about this changes today.
Yes, so, there were some recommendations that the city of Grand Prairie wanted to bring forward. One would be starting with Hector P. Garcia. It was a location that we had put down as a recommended location. They actually are suggesting to not use that location.
Elementary or middle school?
Sorry, the elementary school. And then in addition, they're recommending not to use Bowie Fine Arts Elementary School. But they would like to add Sally Moore Elementary School.
As far as adding Sally Moore Elementary School, this is Debbie Torres with the Grand Prairie ISD. I was not able to get any confirmation on adding Sally Moore at this time, so I would need to get back later, maybe look at next May or November, but I was not able to get any confirmation to be able to add that campus. It's not ever been used before, so.
So let me clarify, recommendation from the city of Grand Prairie was to remove of our, I don't know if you're zoomed in on there, but we've got Hector P. Garcia and Bowie Fine Arts.
For Garcia Elementary, it's about the same turnout as Travis, and they're fairly close together, but Garcia is a little more hidden than Travis, so it's a little harder to see. So we were recommending Mona Lisa with the city of Grand Prairie, and myself, we were recommending to not use Garcia and keep Travis open as let it remain.
And just for some information on that, Hector P. Garcia had 16 voters in 21 and 15 voters in 22.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we would need a motion on
their recommendation.
Well, I think, are we amending our recommendation? We're amending our recommendation to remove that from the list. So it's out, it's no longer part of our recommendation.
Okay.
And then the second one is Bowie Fine Arts Elementary School also.
Yes, Bowie Elementary School is really close to Charlie Taylor, and Bowie has a really low voter turnout, and Charlie Taylor has a much larger turnout.
That was 18 voters in 21 and 12 and 22. So those two locations we are removing from our recommendation at this time.
So in other words, the elections department is following the recommendations of the city and ISDs. And for transparency's sake, in our discussion today, Brooks Love is going to proxy vote for the city of Grand Prairie.
So I move that we approve y'all's recommendation for section 7.
I second that.
It's been motioned and seconded that the ECAC accept DCED's recommendations as amended just recently.
Sounds good.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Section 8.
Michael, there were a couple more. This is Debbie with Grand Prairie ISD.
Yes.
Can we talk about those from earlier in section 7?
Oh, I'm sorry. We didn't cover, which ones did we not cover?
We didn't cover collegiate, global leadership, or Florence Hill.
Did we just adopt all of the ones in section 7 that were presented?
I think Melissa's gonna go ahead and look it up.
So Florence Hill was that, I guess you have to clarify, Florence Hill Elementary School is not on the list to be recommended. So were you requesting that be added or?
No, well, we thought that when we were looking at the map that it had already been voted on, I believe, but Florence Hill is right close to Warmack Library. And we were wanting to use Warmack Library because of and not use Florence Hill because of the close location.
Right, and we didn't, that's not included in the recommendation. So that was not.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I think that was the same case for the Global Leadership Academy as well. It was not one of our recommended locations, so it was not included in the.
Okay.
Group. Yeah.
So you good, Debbie?
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
Section 8. I see there's several holes that we filled here also, quite a few in fact. And so discussion about section 8.
I have one thing for section 8. We received from Cedar Hill ISD a request. We have previously approved Bray Elementary School, and they would like us to replace that with Collegiate Academy and High School as the location. You can zoom into that Bray Elementary School area.
BRAY?
BRAY, yeah. B3108. So,
Zoom in further.
it's up to the group of vacancy where it's at. I'm trying to see.
What was the change?
To change from Bray Elementary School to Collegiate High School Academy, which is, looks like it's about 1.6 miles away.
And there were, who made that recommendation?
The school district.
Has it been used before?
Collegiate has not, Bray Elementary School, but Bray Elementary School's been approved previously, so they were putting out a suggestion that if anybody wanted to put a motion on the floor to switch that location to Collegiate Academy High School, that's the school district's preference and recommendation.
Can we see that alternate location?
Question, did they give us a reason why they wanted to make a change?
There was a reason for that.
It was just an email asking
Yeah.
for it to be brought to the table today.
One sentence.
So they want to move from the green dot to the,
You won't see it on the map. Okay.
Is it this yellow one? The yellow one on this? Yeah. See the new Collegiate High School.
Due to time constraints, wouldn't it just, maybe they could change it, make that recommendation for the next election, but just move forward with this right now? Would that? Yeah, I mean, it's a time thing.
We're bringing it up if there's no motion to make that change.
None.
That'd be okay after section 8.
so can you zoom back out? Any other thoughts about section 8? I can tell you in section 8, I've seen a few locations. We got some work to do for the presidential because especially the right-hand bottom, down there, and I mean, there's just a couple different holes. So this must be better than I, must be a pretty good growth area, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So just keep in mind that these precinct locations are from 10 years ago, probably 2014, 2016.
So do you need a motion to approve that section?
Unless there's any thoughts about it filling any other holes.
One question.
Yeah.
So for DeSoto, the East Islamic Center, you guys surveyed, you were interested, is this on the recommended list or no?
What's the name? DeSoto House of Peace?
Yes, DeSoto House of Peace.
It's not one of the ones that was recommended, but it is on the map.
So they're right there, Kevin's. Go ahead, zoom in, Kevin.
This is Sylvia Martinez with DeSoto ISD. I can't really clearly hear the discussion, but I am on the line if there's a question.
Spreadsheet, and maybe it's behind, but the DeSoto House of Peace is recommended.
It is behind. That's from last week.
Oh, I downloaded the spreadsheet on the side, and it is showing it as recommended.
So it is recommended or not
No.
recommended?
But they changed it.
So the question on the table, though, somebody was, DeSoto House of Peace was one that she brought forward as a potential location that we could use, offered up. And so I think zoom out just a touch, Kevin. I mean, see, there's DeSoto High School down south, and there's Beltline that's not being used, and then to the right, Beltline Conference Center.
Okay, thank you. I did not understand when the House of Peace was referenced. I thought something different was said. But it just let us know what questions you have or what you need.
Okay, thank you.
This is my CAC, I hope you guys can hear me. So is there a reason why you believe that we should use the DeSoto House of Peace as well as the other one with mine? Yeah,
So my intention is for us to build some holes as well as include, minority communities there, and it's a new building. They are interested and eager to serve. I'm not sure what is the distance in the other location that is potential or recommended. But that would be the reason why I would want it to be on the list.
Are you making a motion to add it?
I would like to make a motion to add.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to add the House of Peace to the list of recommended locations.
I have a question. The green dot just to the right of the House of Peace, how far away is that?
Can you zoom in, Kevin? Give us a
That's
measurement.
the Beltline Conference Center, I believe, correct?
About a quarter of an inch on my neck. Real close.
Which one were you referring to?
The Beltline Conference Center from the House of Peace.
Green in the middle and.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's just outside of that 3/4 mile circle on our other map.
Two major intersections, two major streets. We have to cross to get to Beltline Conference.
So is that facility been used before?
This is Alicia with the City of DeSoto. I'm just trying to understand what the reasoning is for the addition. I know that is a newer center. Have you guys surveyed it and have you spoken with them to see if they're interested in allowing us to use that facility?
Yes, it has been, they are interested, the, contacted the election department, has been surveyed, as I understand.
What are our survey results on that one?
Our survey score for that location.
Which one, that, Bill line?
I'm not seeing
The House of Peace.
it may have been surveyed, but I'm not seeing that it's been scored yet.
Okay.
So there's
But so
a,
you said it's a new facility? So I'm gonna guess it's ADA compliant. Are you familiar with the voting area?
I'm not sure which part would they would choose.
The parking, good.
Sylvia, this is Alicia. I'm not sure how you feel about it. I would not like it to be added for this election. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts primarily are that we have the schools available.
Absolutely. I'd like to look at that in the future. I would not like to add it at this time. That's just my opinion.
I've got two things just for backup. The survey score was a 99. And I think that in the moment we have a motion on the floor for it to be added, that was seconded. So that we would go.
And just to be clear, the two women that spoke against the motion, can you identify your entity?
Alicia Thomas, City of DeSoto. And Sylvia.
Okay, so.
Sylvia Martinez is with DeSoto ISD. I'm not sure if she's muted or not.
Great, thank you so much. So further discussion about DeSoto House of Peace.
Is that a minority area? Yes. So that would serve a distinct minority. That's what you're saying. Okay. I don't even know where it is. I'm just asking.
Further discussion. Seeing no further discussion. All those in favor of adding the DeSoto House of Peace as a location to be added to our tonight's recommendation, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no.
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 Motion carries. Further thoughts about area number 8.
This is Daphne. May I say something? I'm not a voting member, but you have two entities in this election in May, and everyone is voting against them, and it's their election. I don't understand. Can somebody explain that?
Yes.
I don't know if DeSoto has a comment. I think there's no one in
I'm
this.
just curious. This is Alicia, City of DeSoto. I'm just curious who made the motion to include it. That is familiar with DeSoto.
I'm sorry, I got distracted for a second. Was there, I'm not sure where we're at in the discussion.
Well, the city secretary of DeSoto, Alicia is the city secretary of DeSoto, City of DeSoto, and she's the one that's speaking.
Yes, and I'm asking who made the motion to add the House of Peace that is familiar with the area. I'm just curious.
Go ahead, Ms. Obi. Go ahead and identify yourself.
From Mass Dallas, and I did make the motion.
I can't even hear you. I'm sorry.
I was saying, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Michelle Mahmood, and I did make the motion from Mass Dallas.
I'm not clear. Esmeralda, can you send me that or bot me that or message me that later? I can't hear. It's kind of muffled for me.
So that motion carried. Further thoughts about area number 8. And we see someone back.
I'm Jane Bowman, I'm the city secretary for the city of Duncanville. And I previously sent an email to the Dallas County Elections regarding the 4 sites that the city council had preferred and had asked last spring to be considered, even though the census tracts weren't completed. So we met in the city council meeting again last night. during the briefing, it came up again, gave the council an opportunity to, they could vote, but they could come to a consensus to add any additional places from what we originally requested, which were Duncanville Library, Reed Middle School, Bird Middle School, and Fair Meadows Elementary School. And they said no. So those are the four, and I see that there's a lot of holes and you're trying to fill them in for the next presidential election, but they asked if y'all would give consideration to their request. Thank you.
And so just to be clear, so there's some locations they would like on here that aren't on here?
What I'm saying is, it looks to me like you've got some other dogs in there that they're numbering more than the four that are here. Because originally there were 11 or 12 sites. In the city council, Mary City Council would like to see them reduced to these 4 sites.
So they would like to eliminate some of these sites.
That's correct. The ones I mentioned are the ones that.
Okay. You articulate which ones they would like to eliminate? I mean, and I'm sure if you'd like to put that in the form of a motion, we can just talk about it.
Okay, let me go back to my email because there's quite a few on there.
Are we on section 8?
We're on section 8.
Okay.
So the following votes in respectfully requested to be eliminated. H. Bob Daniel, SR Intermediate School, Alexander Elementary School, Duncanville's First Baptist Church, Brandenburg International School, Rise Church, Central Elementary School, and Duncanville High School.
All even on.
Yeah, can you, let's maybe, I'm not sure if all those are on here now. So let's maybe let's zoom into Duncanville and let's see what's on here and see if any of them are on your list. Just maybe identify those dots.
Got a little lag. Fair Meadows.
So do you want me to keep my email open or something?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
if you can, Kevin will just, he's zooming into them on the screen and he'll just read them out loud.
Okay.
And then, and you can see in your email if it's one of those.
Okay.
So Fair Meadow, by Hart's Elementary School. Is that one of the, no?
It's not one of the ones that they
Okay.
requested that
Reed Middle School,
we keep that one.
okay?
I'm clicking, I got a little lag time.
You're doing a good job.
Yes.
I don't care what she said.
Actually, I think I'm frozen.
Melissa's gonna try it.
Duncanville Library,
Yes, that's.
Bird Middle School,
Yes, ma'am.
it's almost like it's a Dallas, Park in the Woods Recreation Center, it's outside of Duncanville, right?
Those are
Brandenburg International School,
That would be one that they would recommend be eliminated.
so we have that currently on our recommended list, so that would be one we have talked about. And then Alexander Elementary School,
That would be one that's being recommended for elimination.
that's also currently on our recommended list.
Clarification, did you say it's not on the recommended list?
It is.
It's currently on our recommended list to keep. So in terms of being open, that's the list that we have.
So I think I'm hearing a motion from the city of Duncanville to eliminate 2 locations from the current list as displayed on the screen. And those two locations are what?
Alexander Elementary School, Alexander Elementary School, and Brandenburg Intermediate School.
Can you show where those are in the dots? I believe those are the one further north. It looks like we're closing both of them. And I live in Duncanville, but I would be opposed to closing both of the two northern locations.
Yeah, we'll go and try to zoom in and show you guys on the screen.
Those are those two locations right there.
Those two are the ones that were recommended. So those were two that we saw as a whole. We said maybe we should open something up. The city's now saying no.
They actually said it since last spring. The city secretary, I have an email where she had letter from you, Mr. Scarpelli, and you were indicating that the census tract information wasn't completely, and y'all were going to continue to consider it.
Okay.
So the mayor and council asked respectfully again last night.
So I think the motion is to withdraw those two from DCED's recommended additions to Area 8.
Is there any potential ones that face?
I'm gonna waiting for a second for this, that motion. Okay. Been motioned and seconded. Now we have discussion about that motion to remove Brandenburg and Alexander Elementary from DCE's
Is there a
recommended
reason they
addition.
don't want those locations?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. I can't understand it.
Is what they see, what they perceive and understand from the voting numbers is that people don't show up at those locations regularly and they know the output because they've lived there for a long time. Kind of about people in there.
Further discussion. Right here.
Michael, could you show us on the map, again, are those the two locations that are north? I believe they both are. And I would not be in favor of closing both northern, of our two northern locations.
And you go from the center of Duncanville, you could be south.
You share.
Yeah, that's right.
And I would ask, since there's a,
So back here, go ahead.
if those, is there a recommendation to add a new location from that area? From the city? Yeah, I know you're saying close it, but you just, there's no need to have anything there?
It looks like.
So if we look at the screen, so if you see right down the center of the screen there, there's two locations. Those were two of our recommendations that the city's now saying they prefer not to have.
If you eliminate those, then there's not any place really close for them to go.
Go ahead.
Elaine Campbell, CA. Duncanville actually has one of the highest number of voters.
Right.
In Dallas County, and I absolutely do not, I don't know why the city would say that, because they, I don't know. Yeah.
The area doesn't like it either.
Yeah.
Last May, they only had 6 people.
Maybe it's
vote.
cost, but
Further discussion.
so the motion's on the floor to remove, to do what Duncanville City wants.
Correct.
Okay. I call for the motion. I call for the vote, yeah.
It's already been.
No, I mean, I call for the vote.
So the motion is to remove Brandenburg International School and Alexander Elementary School from DCED's recommendation additions that they're recommending. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed to the motion signify by saying no.
No.
The noes carry.
I'd like to have a count.
You want to do a roll call?
Yeah.
Okay. You can do that. Well, I don't, honestly, I don't know that that was close, to be honest. So I don't think we should do a roll. So further discussion about area number 8.
The green dots on this number 8 are the ones we are having.
The green dots are the ones that this body previously voted yes.
And the yellow dots.
And the green, light green pins are those that the DCED recommended to fill the holes.
And the yellows are just for future recommendations.
The yellows might have been used in the past, might far in the past or near in the past. There are other potential locations. Any thoughts on 8? I'd entertain a motion on 8.
Second.
I'm assuming that the motion is to accept DCED's recommendation. It's been motioned and seconded to accept DCED's recommended additions. Any discussion?
What was presented by Duncanville is the area 8 that we're talking right now.
That's correct.
And I'm just asking, I didn't want to close any voting centers, but understanding this came from the city government in Duncanville. Was this a surprise to y'all?
Yes.
The request that came here?
No, I don't think so because they had emailed quite a bit, yes, but I don't know that my team was aware of that when they were making the recommendations. Okay.
I mean, I'm for the government and what you're representing, but I would have, I don't want to oppose anything, but that's a strong body with this, and all this stuff. And I think there would have been more discussion internally before it came up to here on your recommendation and their.
Yeah, but keep in mind, DCED is not making decisions. You guys are the decision makers. So we had an open discussion and we, and we're still having an open discussion because this recommendation is up for discussion right now. We're under discussion right now.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. So the motion was to accept DCED's recommended additions. It's 9:30. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No.
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 Motion carries. We'll move to area number 9. This is the last area.
No.
Okay, so what you see here is the green dots that you approved, and then the additions that DCED is recommending. So 2, 4, 6, 7 additions. Any questions about this area? Questions, comments, etc.
So I just have a few things in section 9 to talk about. One, previously we had indicated that there was potentially a survey issue for Richland Elementary School. That is not the case. That's already been accepted, so we removed that survey concern and we're going to leave it as an accepted location. Then I know this question came in the back about North Garland Branch Library. So we had a tie vote the last time that we visited North Garland Branch Library and Spring Creek Elementary School. And we had said as a group we would bring it back. Spring Creek Elementary School was a previously accepted location. And I think currently North Garland Branch Library is listed as a potential because it was it was requested at the time, the motion was to bring it back to this body for a vote for those 2 locations again, to revisit that. So that needs to be, an action needs to be taken on that.
Hi, this is Sandra Hayes with Richardson ISD. I believe we're talking about Spring Ridge in section 9, not Spring Creek.
I have Spring Creek and Elementary also in section 9.
No, Spring Creek Elementary for Richardson ISD is in section 2.
I think there's also Spring Creek Elementary and Garland.
She's talking about Garland ISD.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Spring Creek and Garland is right across from North Garland. I don't want to use North Garland. This is Michelle Hogan from Garland ISD. I do not recommend using North Garland. It's in a strip mall and the parking is terrible and it's not a large library the way you would think. It's a very small location.
It backs up to, minority neighborhood too.
She
They
said,
could, the minority neighborhood argument really doesn't apply here. The entire economic situation for Garland is 52% Hispanic, low socioeconomic 47%. So all throughout Garland, Rowlett, and Saxon, we're having low socioeconomic. They're right across the street from each other. And it's not a large, busy street. It's a walkable area if they choose to walk, for those who have participated at North Garland Library on Election Day, which is few. We get more traffic at Spring Creek Elementary.
It is Renee Dow, Chief Secretary of City Garland. It is a busy street. Entry might not be as convenient for some of the people in the subdivision across the street. I recognize that the library is small, but there is enough parking in that parking lot.
I disagree, but we can take it to a vote.
That's fine.
So I have a question then. What's, sorry, I get your name?
Renee Dow.
Okay, so right now it's not listed as recommended. Are you making a motion?
Yeah, I'm making a motion to recommend no problem.
So just to clarify, it's actually, this is a vote between the two, well, with both locations on the table, because you guys previously made a motion to revisit these two locations specifically as a pair. So we had visited them as a pair, made a vote, and it was a tie vote. There was another motion to bring these back up at another point in time. So these two locations we're looking at outside of the DCE recommendations as a pair, as we were reviewing previously.
Saving the best for last.
what is the counts?
So, North Garland Branch Library in the May 2021 election. I just had it on the screen, I apologize.
64.
86 in 21 and 64 in 22. And for the other location, Kevin?
Go ahead.
The other location?
Spring Creek Elementary School in Garland.
156 in 21 and 96 in 22.
No, I'm just yawning. I'm yawning.
So is there,
Notice that the Vietnamese Center is, and that could take some voters, you know, in that area. That would be a good. It's already got the center.
I think what was being brought back to this group was that you didn't decide between these two. You wanted to revisit these two, whether or not you wanted to have one or the other or both.
I would like to amend my motion to be both. I'd like to see both.
And I'll second. I second that.
Okay. It's been motioned and seconded to keep both Spring Creek Elementary and North Garland Branch Library in our overall plan. Discussion.
I would recommend, I would agree to that and support that because both of those locations has the same number of votes for 21, 22. So it shows that it's just a distinctive group of voters for those, each of those areas. So it makes sense to keep them both open.
Further discussion. Okay. See no further discussion. The motion is to keep both of these locations on the screen open. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no.
No.
Motion carries. Further thoughts about Area 9?
I still have one more thing.
Thanks,
Sorry,
Melissa.
Trust me, I want to be home too. So we previously voted to accept the Math and Science Technology Magnet Center, those are 1502. And a recommendation has come via a commissioner's office to look at the Islamic Association of North Texas as a replacement for that, that location. So we said we would bring that up to see if there was any interest in motioning for that as a replacement to the Magnet Science Technology Center.
They're like across the street from each other. Yeah.
And you surveyed both of them?
I believe they both been surveyed, yes. I can tell you that information. Just one moment. So the Math Technology Magnet Center has a survey score of 93.4, and the Islamic Association of North Texas has a survey score of 96.1.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to replace that design. May I replace it with the Islamic Association?
It's been motioned and seconded that the Math and Science Technology Center previously approved be replaced by the Islamic Association of North Texas. Discussion.
Just have a question. Is there any reason for the recommended replacement? It's have a pretty high turnout for both the 21 and 22 May elections.
Yeah, this is Sandra Hayes with Richardson ISD. I believe the thought was the Islamic Center is on a street that's more visible and easily accessible, where MST is buried in the neighborhood and parking is limited there.
So I second that. This is Musena from Muslim American again. MST, it was, my daughter's school, and the parking there is very high. I voted that one as well. The parking there is very hard. There's no parking lot. It's a very small parking lot in the back, so it's street parking. Well, INT has a big parking, and it's on the spring ground, so it's more visible to everyone. And this area has a high population of Muslim voters as well.
That'd be no
Besides
likely
others.
to
So yes, and this was in the back. I believe was a little similar.
Further discussion.
This is Amy Niemer. I have a question.
Go ahead, Amy.
Is
Go ahead.
RISD in favor of this location?
Not, RISD is in favor of not using MST.
Okay.
I call for the question.
Thank you.
Okay. See no further discussion and the question being called. All those in favor of replacing Math Science Technology Magnet Center with Islamic Association of North Texas signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Further thoughts about area number 8? 9.
Move to approve as recommended.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve area number 9 as amended tonight and as recommended by DCED. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of their motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Don't get up. So I think we have a model. We have to make a recommendation. Nick, you got your, I anticipated it was going to be late. And so I asked Nick to draw up some thoughts about what your recommendation may look like. We put some whereases and therefores. And so I want you guys,
Give us the.
yeah, I want you guys to take a quick look at that and see, there may be something we're missing big time. And then we want to edit and
I send it to y'all's inbox, but also if you go to that VCAC meeting page on our website, that y'all get the links and all that from, the maps, you're gonna see a link there. You see the link on that VCAC website page. And it will say VCA draft recommendation there, and so y'all can pull it up there, but also I believe I emailed it to y'all's inbox as well, the front if y'all want to bring that through.
Just gonna go ahead and put it up. So why don't you just take a moment to peruse this and tell me how you'd like to edit, any suggested edits.
Oh, I see. You can't reach it.
Give me some indicator when
There
the
it
kids scroll.
There it goes. There you go. Refresh, yeah. Refresh.
Can I ask this question or we?
Of course, yeah.
So, do we need to explain that the early, we're not making a change to thank you, Elaine Campbell said, do we need to explain that we are not making, that this only applies to election day? That we did not discuss early voting?
I don't think we need to put it in this motion or this resolution. I'll put it in the background in the Commissioners Court briefing.
Yeah, I mean, would it be the right place to make a suggestion for any vote center that previously been used, that now we determine that it will be closed, that a notice will be sent out to people that voted then to notify them that the center that's they've been using in the past will be closing?
I think that's a good suggestion. In fact, we may maybe broaden that to make it a little more generic, to say the Dallas County Elections Office shall use seek out multiple ways to notify voters. And so, because it may be more than that, just.
But I think it's just better preparation for people that they are just so accustomed to going to specific centers. If they know ahead of time that the center will be closing, the voting center will be closing, then they will try to find.
I can tell you by law, we have to post the notice, but we'll do more than that.
Then that, let them know specifically instead of like posting somewhere, because we assuming these people will go and find it, but it would be better for them to be notified that the voting center you use.
Right, tell them ahead of time, because
Yes.
too many times when they come to the center and they find out that they're not, then they get upset.
Okay, so I think, someone got some language put in there?
Michael, want to make sure that reiterate that for those people who have transportation issues, it could be really, really consequential.
Yeah.
I don't have a specific line to have for.
And I don't know the bus routes on And Saturday. especially, I'd like to do it with like postcards or something. Not everybody has computers or, especially the older population, or anything electronic, but actually something mailed to their house.
So this is Diane Tasman with Women Roosevelt. I'm going to recommend that we letting everyone know in the whole county that DART provides free rides in many different ways on election day. And we should probably work with DART to get some signage in there in all their means of transportation, letting people know.
Do I have any good writers here that type? So, because I'm hearing, you want to contact people, affected voters by mail, you want to do some signage with DART. I don't remember what the second one was. so I can't read my own writing.
So make sure it's not only electronic.
Yeah, signage on all stops.
Yeah.
I think I still have a fundamental problem with the yo-yo that this would present to voters who are already barely paying attention. They only show up with certain motivation. And in May, we're not going to the same place that we're going in November.
Right.
I think that the alternative option of having a number of sites that we're saying, we're gonna kill, and I'll just throw a number out. If we said we were gonna cut our vote center numbers by 25%, roughly 100 vote centers would be cut across the county permanently, such that we had all of the same vote centers are gonna be open, but we're going to have a permanent reduction in sites. I don't think that that's really been explored yet in this process, but I think that that would give much more clarity to voters about where they would go vote while achieving the goal of having a more effectively managed election day population of workers. Yeah, and I just think that that's something that has to credibly be looked at before we submit or proposal or recommendation to the commissioners.
And Keyburn, and Keyburn, please, if I may, this is John Yours, real quick, to caveat or to just boost what you're saying, we said this before. Not only does it have to be, so people are, they're used to going, but the early voting sites need to be the same places too. We just need to have some metrics that are like that. A voting site can be a site, for example, in an early voting site. And these are the sites people can be going to, they're gonna be used to going to. It just can't be, like you said, it's hard enough to get people out to vote, but to go different places based on how many people tend to vote isn't helpful.
So I'm not sure. So just to clarify, early voting sites are not changing.
Right.
And so that's not being considered by this body. What this body has decided weeks ago was to go for a dual model, and that they were shaping part one of the dual model. And so what's under discussion right now is how to make the recommendation on part one of that dual model. Bring that to Commissioner's Court. And so our scribes are taking your thoughts about these whereases and resolves to try to articulate your thoughts so that you can take a vote on this recommendation. And now you could end up voting down that recommendation and say, well, never mind for what we've been doing on this last several weeks, but that's what we got to vote on.
Well, if we originally agreed to look at both proposals in union with each other.
But we changed that recommendation.
But we have to also then understand the bearing that both of those recommendations would have, and that's what.
And I'll entertain that discussion when we're under discussion, when we're voting on emotion.
But then we're kind of putting forward a proposal without equal weight being given to the other proposal, which is what we said we were gonna do at the beginning. We said we were gonna look at both of them together.
No, we
did.
We have not.
We did, and then
We changed that about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We changed it.
Well, yeah, point of order, I believe that we did have a vote and we did change
Right.
that.
But did
original
we look at that with consequences, or did we look at that in the absence of understanding what those consequences?
Well, I think that there was a motion made and seconded, and there was discussion that was had on that.
We need to have a vote first to be able to.
Right. So what's up for discussion right now is we're looking at this current language to see if there's any other massaging we might want to do to it.
This is Elaine Campbell. Elaine Campbell, CN. And again, I don't know if this is already something that's already documented somewhere else or we need to be here. I do know that this is not, and you do mention that we're going to continue to meet to discuss the high turnout election, but as we continue to meet, let's say that, as we go along, which is constantly happening, because nothing, as we've already mentioned, you have to do the contracts every election. So there is no permanent list. I mean, there's a approved list, but you still have to do it again every election.
Your point's well taken. I think,
Yeah.
when we come back with part two, my thoughts would be that we say, yeah, we've done part one and part two, but we're gonna revisit this every year.
Yeah, exactly, okay.
Because it's constantly changing. There's, the county's growing, et cetera.
And we want to also have something there with Russell. We want people to comment and give us feedback all through the year, not just before an election, but if they have a recommendation for a certain facility or area or location.
Or community, like.
Yes, that's been underserved. We need to look at that and we're going to be looking at that. So it's an evolving process. And I think something like that needs to be added in there somewhere, that we want to continue to solicit information from the communities.
Were there any other major points? So there was one added about contacting people, because we didn't have that in there, and making sure that we are educating people properly. Were there any other thoughts about major points to add to the resolution?
I really do believe we need to make sure that the commissioners understand this is an ongoing process. This is not it. This is going to be an ongoing process every single year.
So do we want to put another resolved in there?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So there's no misinterpretation that this is it, this is permanent, because that's not
Right.
possible.
Yeah. Fine tuning of it.
So while they're continuing to recompose, I want to just talk about two. So what's going to happen is you guys are going to vote yes or no on this resolution. Once you have that resolution, we will put it into court briefing. And so I'll give background in the court briefing, that the standard practice. And then I'm going to visit with commissioners, each one of them individually. And I'm going to go through what we've kind of, summarize what we've been doing over the last several weeks. And then on Tuesday, the 21st, this will be before Commissioners Court. And I would think if you are one or all of you are all welcome to speak about the process, whether you're for it, against it, et cetera, and to be at that meeting where I'm presenting. Any questions about that process?
Yeah, Michael, one thing. Yeah, if I may, if this is going to be continually contingent, and I get that, it needs to be continually contingent on some very specific metrics. Sometimes we say we'll go with the people who live there. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we say that it's 10 voters. Sometimes it's not enough. It needs to be very specific about what our metrics are going to be, and it can be contingent, and it's going to change based on those values. That would be. It's not that clear to me what the metrics are in every decision that we're making. It seems like we're basing them on different values. That's all I would ask, and I'll help with that if I can.
So my comment to that is that we talked about, this, we had an abbreviated timeline here, right? And you guys did a fantastic job, by the way. But then we also know that SMU is going to be continuing to participate. We are going to continue to look at more data when it comes to Census Bureau, travel, all those types of things, especially when it comes to the importance of a major 65% turnout election. And to make sure that we have no holes, to make sure that we've got as thorough coverage as possible. And so that's what we want to have happen over the next several months. And hopefully get something done by August. And so it's, in other words, take a deep dive, John, and so I think we're all in agreement that we want to look, beat the heck out of this plan and make sure that it's thorough.
I have a question about the process. It's not about the letter. I just wanted to understand, sorry. Yeah, Elaine Campbell seeing. And I'm not trying to rush you guys. I know that you have a lot to do, and it's 10 o'clock at night. Because I'm using the spreadsheet, and I just wanted to know when you think it would be updated and caught up to what we discussed.
Probably tomorrow.
Probably, okay, thank you.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions about process, et cetera? And keep in mind, Commissioners Court, they could take this recommendation, accept it whole, they could reject it, or they could modify it. So they're the ultimate people responsible.
I think before we go too far, I think the other thing that's not currently in the proposal is a dedicated budget for advertising for the elections department every 6 months to make sure that the citizenry is fully aware of changes that are going to be coming up in the upcoming election and to make them aware of the process. And if we're not requesting that, then we're asking for more of what has basically been the best efforts on a shoestring budget, which undermines a certain amount of credibility in the community.
I just have my
Is that part of our purview though, at this point?
It's got to be, if we're going to choose to go with this many in May and this many in November, we've got to request the budget for a voice in the public. And if we don't have the budget for a voice, then we're whispering in the wind.
I agree with you. Are you making that as part of a?
I'm saying that should be one of the whereas.
Or be resolved.
I would say when it comes to spending money, that is the role of the Commissioners Court. I think that's outside of our scope. Now, you could make a general statement, we urge the county to spend adequate funds, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's what this last one was, we wanted to add about contacting, et cetera. And I can tell you this, that when we switched over to vote centers in 2019, there wasn't any money spent. This Commissioners Court has been very generous in the last year, spending a tremendous amount of money. $605,000 for November and a couple $100,000 last year. And so I think that I would anticipate their attitude will be the same. Can't guarantee that, but I think that they're very much aware of the fact that we have to communicate regularly with our voters. Anything?
All right, so, hey, man. All right, so we're trying to encompass everything and not limit it too much. So it may sound a bit vague, but at the end, I think we would say, be it further resolved, VCAC recommends Dallas County proactively communicate with voters regarding available vote centers and the changes adopted here for the low turnout election through various outreach methods. I know we said postcards and other things, but I don't want to limit it just to those things. And I want to leave it open to whatever, if we do work with ABI, I mean, the Commissioner's Court has been pretty generous and very proactive when it comes to outreach and when we make changes like this. So I don't want to limit it to just a few things because ABI, I mean, we did a slew of ads, postcards, phone calls. I mean, we did a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to read it another time. Be it further resolved, VCAC recommends Dallas County proactively communicate with voters regarding available vote centers and the changes adopted here for low turnout elections through various outreach methods.
more than you say to that.
Comment back.
Okay with that, I don't want you to limit anything, but previous methods haven't been working, and I think to reach people that don't use ads, electronics, postcard, UPS is the basic method that everybody is familiar with, especially in the smaller community where they are just so used to going to specific location. So I know that, but I just want to make that postcard, like UPS postal service may be the best to reach that smaller section of senior citizens.
So my comment on that is, I have my ideas about what works, right? And that might be kind of because I'm old. But when we did this last year, we relied on the experts. And so ABI was our consultant, and they put together a very comprehensive plan on how to hit people in multiple ways. And what I'm going to tell you is, I think it was pretty darn effective. Keep in mind that 1 out of every 2 of our voters used our voter lookup, way higher than we ever expected. And so people were hearing those commercials. They were hearing those different methods of how we were contacting them. So, did we stick that into the, let's put that language into the.
I think you have an extra A in there before low turnout.
Thank you.
And do we even need to say low turnout? Can we just say elections?
Well, this is specifically for me.
And this is for this, just keep in mind that we're making a recommendation for in the dual model, we're making it for the low turnout model. So that's why you put it in that language. And when we do the further one this summer, I'm sure it'll contain similar language. So if we can put the entire resolution up.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Okay, so on Teams, in your meeting, there is the resolution. And I can tell you that we can polish this up a little bit as far as grammar, if there's anything that's problematic. But any thoughts or anyone want to make a motion regarding this particular recommendation?
I, Renato de los Santos, move that we adopt the resolution as submitted.
Second. Can you make this bigger real quick?
Yes.
It's been motioned and seconded that we accept the resolution as provided on the screen, which encapsulates the work that's been done over the last several weeks. Summarizes it, if you will.
Did we add the part with the transportation? Part, when we said to do the signage in the dark for the free transportation electricity?
No, let's see if we can get it.
The partnership with DART. Coordinate with DART.
I mean, it could be added, yeah.
Yeah,
Could be added,
yeah.
fires. Yes, we are.
Is it just making them aware of the resource or coordinating with DART? I don't know.
I think that they actually.
I think coordinating with DART and other agencies to provide better transportation to locations. And I wouldn't limit it to just DART, I'd say, and other agencies.
Michael, this is just asking, while y'all are working on this, do you know how many we got it down to total?
Petra? Great question. I know we added some tonight, so it's gonna be, I'm gonna guess 365-ish.
Okay. Then will we really be cutting any down once we go back to the larger vote model?
I think that remains to be seen. Upon a
All
lot of-
right.
Right.
Okay, that was a silly question. Thank you.
Stop it, Janae.
One thing I-
What are you guys talking about?
For the purpose, for the city secretaries and the ISDs, I can tell you that now that we have a target, we will immediately put our thinking caps on and start to do our projections. And we will have an estimate, a revised estimate. Because we want you guys to be armed with that, and we want Commissioners Court to be armed with that to see what the savings may be. But, and I think off the top of my head, I think we think it's gonna be around $800,000 to $1 million based on what we're saying.
Did we get a bonus? Zero cut, zero. Yeah, 20%. Zero.
So is the language on the screen readable to everyone? Be it further resolved, BCAC recommends Dallas County coordinates with Dallas Area Rapid Transit, DART, and other agencies to make voters aware of available low and no cost transportation resources.
Okay. So is there a motion to accept this? Was that the motion to accept this resolution? Okay. Discussion about this resolution. It's been motioned and seconded that we forward this resolution as it appears on the screen to the Commissioners Court. Any discussion about the motion?
Are you going to present this to them personally at court, or are you going to talk to them individually first?
I'm going to talk to them individually first, and then I will present to the court.
The next.
Yes. This and all all the other data that we've gone through.
You would like as many of these people there the day that you do that.
Well, Commissioners Court always welcomes public speakers to participate in the process. Whether you guys choose to do that or not, that's up to you.
You can do it virtually.
Yes.
So what will the actual number of low turnout vote centers be in May going forward? Is there a number that we're anticipating?
We believe it's around 365, but we'll have that. There's a little bit of math to be done tonight, but I think it's 365. I think it was coming in around 360 and you added 6 or so, so 365, 366. And there might have been there was some up and down, so we got to total all that. Further discussion? Okay, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion to accept the recommendation as printed on the screen, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
Motion carries. I just want to thank you guys for doing a fantastic job and being so dedicated. And I think that the citizens of Dallas really owe you a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Girls?
Yeah. All the sites.
Let me throw that out.